What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 10JJK Chapter 276 Advertisement Shufu Throne recites the Buddha's name silently in his heart. Under the pressure of the crowd, he climbed onto the shoulders of the Buddha statue. Looking at the Buddha's head close at hand, there was a little sadness deep in the muddy eyes. Sorry. Lifting the reagent, he slammed his eyebrows toward the Buddha's head fiercely. The reagent shattered, and the wailing sound instantly filled the entire hall. The main hall door closed suddenly. A gloomy wind blew, and the eternal lamp enshrined in the hall was innocently extinguished. The originally warm and peaceful hall is now like a ghost. And Bei Heron looked at the reagent invading the Buddha's head with a grim look. Hurry up! Hurry up! It's almost a success. I want to stand on top of Jujutsu. I want to take the line of Onmyoji to a new level. At that time, the entire Jujutsu world will be the world of our Onmyojis. At that time, whether it is the 10 shadow spells of the Zenin family or the cursed spirit manipulation of Shayuja, they can only become a vassal of the Onmyoji. Their generation of Onmyoji is gradually declining. They don't have Jujutsu that summons Shikigami through shadows like Zenins. Nor does Shayuja have the ability to manipulate cursed spirit through 23 swallowing. They can only want to arrest the wild beasts, and after the cursed spirit is captured, they can sign a contract by taming them. Because the method is too old-fashioned, it is not as convenient as the family Jujutsu. But they have one advantage, which is inheritance. Whether it is Shikigami or taming methods, they can be passed on to the next generation without reservation through a certain ritual. There will be no faults. This is also the confidence that Anbahai people dare to stand here. Even an elder in the family used this method to turn another demon sealed by the monk into a Shikigami. The so-called demon is just a kind of name for the imaginary cursed spirit by the ancients. It's going to succeed. Hey, it's going to succeed. As the entire Buddha's head was dyed black, the craziness on Anbei's face seemed to be real. Bang! The entire Buddha head exploded. A black skull with a smooth appearance, resembling jade, emerged from it. Then, the entire Buddha statue began to tremble crazily. A black light shot out from sitting down on the Buddha statue. Emptiness, loneliness, loneliness. Just looking at it, my heart is full of loneliness. Advertisement. It makes people unable to raise a little enthusiasm. Shufu Throne was standing at the gate of the main hall, his eyes sluggish, and his explosive desire to survive at this moment freed him from the control of the black light. The doors of the hall were all sealed at this moment, and he couldn't open it at all with his strength. Look at the crazy face of Anbei Heron, that is definitely not something you can count on. Despair flooded into his heart again. Suddenly a godlike body appeared in his mind. Even dispelled his inner despair. The origin and destiny are not, the 6 reincarnations. A humanoid creature appeared in the black light, and a fan was waving in his hand. The seal crack closed again. Ha, I knew it was you, Big Tengu. Looking at the figure that appeared, Anbei finally couldn't help but feel joy in his heart. Wearing a mountain suit, with long wings behind his back, holding a tin stick in his right hand, holding a plume fan in his left hand, a samurai saber hung around his waist, and wearing wooden clogs on his feet, he exudes an unparalleled arrogance. This is not a Big Tengu, who else can it be? As long as you control it, the group of Onmyojis will bloom in his hands again. Big Tengu opened his eyes, but he didn't become happy because he got out of trouble. Instead, he held the black skull in his hand. Absorb it and become a part of your body. Boom. The tin rod in his hand waved. In the end, the big Buddha became dust. A group of handbones exuding milky white light appeared in its chest cavity. Just like just now, it has also become a part of the body of the great Tengu. The big Tengu stretched comfortably. A gust of wind rushed to the surroundings instantly, as if trying to blow away everything around him. Fate, Holy Fury Whisperer, Fudo Mingwang. A series of spells were read, and an invisible wall of air blocked the gust of wind. Click. The doors and windows of the main hall could not bear the baptism of the wind, and they began to crack. In less than 3 seconds, there were only a few large pillars standing on the ground in the entire main hall. The surrounding barriers have long been blown out of sight. Ha. It's this power. This power can take me to the top of Jujutsu. Don't let it go. Enchantment. With the sound of the sound, the main temple was enveloped by a purple energy, which they prepared specially for today's action. Advertisement. The big Tengu looked at the people in front of him indifferently, and the disdain was deeply engraved in everyone's hearts. Human. Do you know the consequences of doing this? A magnetic boy appeared in everyone's minds. Ha. Of course I know what I'm doing. Big Tengu, you should just grab it with your hands. Go together. The madness in his mind overwhelmed reason, and the Onmyojis in the commander's courtyard attacked the big Tengu. Return to life. The common kings, eliminate 100 ghosts. Return to life. The 3 jewels of Buddhism, Dharma, and Sangha, everything, profit. God Fire Emperor. 10,000 demons coexist. A series of spells were read from their mouths, and a series of magic spells attacked the big Tengu from all directions. It didn't move, it didn't even glance at these spells. The force was too weak, and he didn't even have the qualifications to tickle him. With the breath of that person's blood, you are their leader. The big Tengu waved the feather ball fan in his hand, and a flame went straight to the Anbei Heron. Fate. Holy Fury Whisperer. Don't move. Before he finished reciting the spell, the firelight hit him, and the whole person was instantly enveloped in flames. Ah, Xuanwu, save me, ancestor, save me. The screams of Anbei people resounded throughout the temple. Suddenly, a childlike humanoid creature slowly rose from the ground. Looking at the fireball rolling on the ground, a trace of helplessness appeared on the immature face. With a lightly wave of the lotus root-like arm, a stream of water gushed out from the temple's well, rushing towards the burning man. The flame went out instantly. Oh, who am I at that time? You are actually struggling with time in this way. Great Tengu, you have been sealed for so many years, and your bad temper hasn't changed. The big Tengu looked at Xuanwu on the ground with a joking expression. Once, there was a battle between two people. At that time, it almost annihilated Xuanwu's fight. If it weren't for those bald people, it wouldn't have been sealed for so many years. Thinking of this, the tin rod and featherball fan in his hand disappeared from its hand. Holding both hands on the double knives on the waist, it becomes a momentum of accumulation. Oops. Xuanwu couldn't help but tremble when he saw this action. Draw a knife and cut it. Chapter 277 Advertisement. With a breeze blowing by, the big Tengu's figure instantly appeared behind Anbei Heron. Two swords, they are out of their body at this moment. This knife, unpretentious, but deadly. Tengu draws the sword, retreat from good and evil, close black lens bracket. What? Xuanwu still guarded Anbei Heron at the last moment. The looming shield seems to explain the ruthless damage just now. It's not over yet. The big Tengu hit by one blow swung the knife again. The action that was too fast had left shadows in the eyes of Xuanwu. The black sword energy is attached to the blade, Japanese sword, like a black crescent, looking fiercely on the tortoise shield in front of you. The powerful blade was chopped out countless times in a blink of an eye, and the powerful air current connected all the surrounding auxiliary hulls to be cut off. The Onmyoji who followed did not have the blessing of Xuanwu, and instantly died under the wind of the sword. This is just a situation where the big Tengu is unwilling to resolve the battle immediately. Seaman, if you can survive, don't be so reckless. Xuanwu felt the damage caused by the blade, and his body had begun to fade. Sure enough, he still couldn't let go of his master's blood. Even if it is dead, send him away too. In an instant, Xuanwu's eyes burst out with a strong light. Numerous incomprehensible formations appeared on its body. It's this opportunity, hurry up, and Anbei Heron looked at the situation tremblingly. He has forgotten his ambitions now. My heart is full of longing for life. After hearing the words of Xuanwu, the whole body instantly rushed to the formation. There is nothing you can do after all. A ridicule appeared in Xuanwu's ears. The iconic face of the big Tengu appeared in front of Xuanwu's eyes. Go away. There were blue veins on the childlike face, and endless rays of light burst out of the chichao. The big Tengu watched this situation, so he didn't bother. Jump back. In the end, light is only light, it is exhausted. The figure of Anbei Heron has disappeared in place. Looking at the corpse of Xuanwu that was about to dissipate, the big Tengu had a trace of sadness in his heart. Since you like him so much, then I will personally send him to accompany you on the road. The voice was low, as if to tell the grief in his heart. Looking around, the credential temple has been razed to the ground. Advertisement, it's even a lot lower than the surrounding ground. The big Tengu looked up at the sky. The enchantment surrounding the temple has not disappeared. Slowly returned the double knives to the orifice. Stretching out his right hand, a tin stick appeared in its hand. Just when it is ready to jump up, an orderly applause interrupted its movements. There is anyone else? The big Tengu looked around suspiciously. The entire temple was turned into ruins under its attack just now, and a living mouth would not appear under his perception. Where did this applause come from? Shufu throne climbed beside Zenin Ryuichi. The eyes that were forced open told of the fear in his heart. He was blown away by the strong hurricane when the big Tengu was out of trouble. It happened to fall beside Zenin Ryuichi. What happened next was beyond his knowledge. The applause just now came from the one next to him. In terms of speed, I should be in a good mood. Should you tell him what the relic has been absorbed? Shofu throne was full of entanglement. He was very afraid that the news would make him lose this chance to survive. But the long-term accumulation of professionalism still made him speak out. Mr. Ryuichi, the two relics I promised at the time have now been absorbed by the Tengu. Now the monastery is dilapidated. The implication is very obvious, that is, he is now unable to pay. Ryuichi did not look at him, but stared at the big Tengu in the center of the clearing. This guy has good things. According to rumors, the featherball fan of the great Tengu possesses a variety of spells, which can be triggered at will. No need to make a special seal. There are also those two samurai swords, which are also excellent to store. Zenin Ryuichi appeared directly in front of the big Tengu in this way. There are countless speculations about the identity of the Great Tengu, and one of them is the most talked about. It is Fuso's ancient generation of emperors, who turned into grievances after death. Regardless of whether this speculation is true or not, all show the nobility of its identity. The big Tengu looked down at the visitor. No trace of curse power can be felt from him. How did this person survive the battle just now? Mortal, how dare you look at me directly like this? As a super virtual cursed spirit, it has its own pride. Not to mention that it itself is synonymous with pride. A black figure suddenly appeared in front of Ryuichi, and the tin rod in his hand struggling from top to bottom. Ryuichi leapt back, and the tin rod's attack instantly hit the ground. Advertisement: the huge impact smashed the broken blue bricks on the ground into powder. A trace of excitement appeared in the eyes of the big Tengu. This guy is not easy. It's been a long time since I met a strong man who could fight it. At this moment, its heart is full of fighting spirit. Without stopping, the featherball fan instantly appeared on his left hand. Flicked hard in the direction of Ryuichi's back jump. Diaresis Lefa. Thunder and fire together. A huge pillar of fire spewed out. Listen carefully, and there was a strong electric current around the pillar of fire. The high temperature evaporates all the water on the way, and the turquoise land turns into scorched yellow at this moment. Ryuichi didn't panic at all watching the roaring pillar of fire. Raise your hands to block. At this moment, the big Tengu's impression of him was much lower. How to pick up my thunder method empty-handed like this? Court death. In an instant, the pillar of thunder and fire roared along with the billowing heat. A scornful smile appeared at the corner of Ryuichi's mouth. The figure suddenly disappeared in place. Behind the big Tengu instantly appeared, and punched the big Tengu's face. The big Tengu was casting a spell and had no time to evade, so he took the punch abruptly. The entire head was instantly blown by this heavy punch. The whole body is like a puppet that has lost the line, kneeling directly on the spot. That's it. Originally, Li Maz was such an unusually powerful monster in the legend. After becoming a cursed spirit, it turned out to be such a weak chicken. The voice did not fall. The broken head was healed at this moment. The big Tengu stood up instantly. Keep the distance between the two. If it weren't for the previous relic, it is now gone. Unexpectedly, this human being is so powerful. The great Tengu calmly analyzed the situation in front of him, and what it should do now is escape. The body jumped up instantly, trying to smash this enchantment altar. Hey, let me see who this is. The original barrier suddenly disappeared. A pair of blue eyes appeared in front of it instantly. Don't wait for it to react. A beautiful air turned around and kicked it back. The big Tengu's body smashed into the ground like a cannonball. At this moment, the huge roar attracted people in the street to watch. Why are you so free for a few days? It's not a coincidence. Chapter 278 Advertisement. Gojo Satoru looked to one side. Two beautiful figures appeared beside Shufu throne. Daling seemed to feel something, and found that two handsome guys were looking here. Excitedly raised his hands. Hi, Ryuichi, we are here. His hands shook violently in the air, causing his upper body to sway violently. Passers-by looked sideways. Xiangyu looked at the grandpa in front of her, tears in her eyes. Grandpa, are you okay? Don't worry, I'm fine. Shufu Yuza patted the dust on his body, looked at the passing pedestrians, and asked suspiciously. Where are the others? Don't worry, we have moved them to another place when we came. It's very safe now. Xiangyu circled him and found that he did not have any injuries. Finally relieved, patted his chest. When Shufu Throne heard that everyone was safe, he let out a sigh of relief. He was very afraid that the monks would be stopped by the retainers. Thus was affected by the fighting inside. Suddenly, Shufu Throne saw Gojo Satoru next to Zenin Ryuichi. Can't help but have doubts in my mind. How did this dangerous man come back? When I met, I saw his expression and explained softly. We went to the House of Everything to look for Mr. Ryuichi, but we were told that he was not there. Mr. Wu, who was originally shopping, knew our situation and rushed us back with us. These two guys get together. What else is the whole Jujutsu world playing? The barrier has disappeared. The battle must end quickly, otherwise more people will see it. Gojo Satoru looked at the big Tengu that was slowly rising in front of him. Ryuichi doesn't talk too much nonsense, just tap his feet. The whole person instantly appeared on the head of the big Tengu and pressed it with one hand. 6 Immortal Thief Treasury Suck. Suddenly, a horrible suction burst from Ryuichi's hand, and he pressed tightly on the top of the big Tengu's head. Tiangu was horrified to find that his body was gradually diminishing. Draw out the saber and use the last of his strength to make a living for himself. The blade passed, and a dark crescent swept toward the street. It's betting. Bet this man will let go of himself and go to save others. Ryuichi saw its thoughts, and let the knife light hang on the pedestrian. Advertisement. Bang. The knife light dissipated. A handsome figure floated in the air. Ryuichi, you also block it anyway. Do not. With a scream, the big Tengu completely disappeared from the world. Watching the great Tengu dissipate, Shufu Throne could not help kneeling on the ground and kowtow deeply in the direction where Ryuichi was. The devil finally disappeared. In the future, you can rest assured to practice and don't have to worry about being frightened every day. You don't have to be afraid of not seeing the sun the next day when you go to bed every day. Oh. Shufu Throne finally couldn't stand it and completely released his inner emotions. Xiangyu heard the sound and wanted to go up and help. A white arm stood in front of her. Your grandpa needs to let go of his emotions, let him finish crying. Xiangyu heard these words, her nose was sour, and the tears in her beautiful eyes fell down her cheeks. As the sun sets, Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru have already returned to the House of Everything. Ryuichi lay lazily on the office chair. Open the panel, Ryuichi said silently in his heart. Divine Armament 100 refinements. Successful. The current progress is 100%. 6 Immortal Thief Treasury. Successful. The current progress is 100%. Dispatch of Detained Spirits. Successful. The current progress is 100%. Feng Hu Chi Men. Successful. The current progress is 100%. Tong Tien Talisman. Beginner. The current progress is 10%. Full Hand. Not unlocked. Deluo Cave Temple. Not unlocked. Origin of Qi. Not unlocked. Since absorbing the origin of the Yuki Orochi, countless curse powers have gathered in his body every day. Feng Hu Chi Men has reached consummation a long time ago, and the consumption of Chaos Jinzen has been minimal to him. As long as he is willing, he can stand in the formation and play with each other all day. Tong Tien Talisman also reached 10% after absorbing the Big Tengu. This is also a big gain. Ryuichi, I recently met Fuhei's son. Very delicate, looking at a child who doesn't look like that guy in Fuhei, have you asked him privately? Gojo Satoru was bored idle, picking up a book on the desk and flipping through it at will. I think I have a good relationship with that kid. When he grows up, let him come to Jujutsu College, right? Ryuichi stretched out, picked up the unsealed potato chips on the table, and said casually. You tell him about this, I don't do such boring things. Advertisement. When Gojo Satoru heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, then say it, you don't regret it then. Ryuichi waved his hand, although he knows that Fushiguro Megumi, who can be targeted by both Gojo Satoru and Ryōmen Sukuna, has great potential. But he has no interest in it. By the way, the group of people outside the temple today are samurai belonging to the Anbai family. They have lost nearly a third of their combat power because of this incident, and they will not stop there. Do you want me to solve the problem in advance? Gojo Satoru didn't have any surprises with Ryuichi's answer. The two of them were so similar before, with great power accompanied by absolute freedom. But he didn't remind Ryuichi to be careful, but had another purpose. No, if they come to disturb you, I just hope you don't kill them all. Their family is of great significance to the entire Jujutsu world. Ryuichi looked up and looked at Gojo Satoru. When do you think about the feelings of ants? Gojo Satoru moved his sunglasses up with his fingers, stood up and stretched, and ate the last dessert on the table. I just like the way I live now, nothing more, gone. In the silent night, the moon hid behind the clouds, but it couldn't shine a little light. Anbei House is now completely dark. All the subordinates did not dare to speak, and seemed so cautious. I'm afraid that I will touch the head of the family at this time. A candlelight seemed so abrupt in this dark environment at this moment. In an unpretentious room, an elderly man in white is sitting on the inside of the table. A young man was kneeling in front of him, restoring the events of today to the old man. When I heard that Xuanwu died in the monastery because of his missteps. The huge curse power directly filled the entire room. The Anbei Heron bowed to the ground, like a drowning man, his face was blue and his eyes burst. Grandpa. Grandpa. I can't stand Grandpa. I'm dead, it's a waste of Xuanwu's mind, Grandpa. The momentum dissipated, and a whip full of curse power appeared in the old man's hand. The blue veins on the back of his hand bulged, and he slapped the Anbei Heron fiercely. The pressure on his body disappeared instantly, and his whole person instantly lay on the floor, breathing in oxygen. Compared to suffocation, the pain on the body seemed a little insignificant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 28, 29, 30. 30 times. There was no good piece of meat on the Anbei Heron's back. Do you know what went wrong? Chapter 279 Advertisement? Anbei family, the ancestor is the famous Anbei Kingming. Relying on his amazing talent, Anbei Kingming has established a firm foothold in the Jujutsu world with one hand on Myoji. And he engraved his knowledge on bamboo slips and put it in the family for the people to learn. After death, he releases all his Shikigami. If you want to leave, you must keep the original intention of the full-screen Shikigami. There are a total of 12 Shiki gods under Anbei Kingming, and in the end only 3 Shiki gods are left to protect the family. They are their former leaders, Sky Wang, Water General, Xuanwu, Landlord, Tianyi. The 3 gods guarding the Anbei family have gone through countless years, and they have been safe and sound. But this time, it was because of love reporting a mistake. A fight that could have been avoided instantly opened up. Even Xuanwu died under the hands of the Big Tengu because he wanted to protect him. This is tantamount to cutting off an arm of the family. How does this keep them from getting angry? Baby knows it's wrong. The Anbei heron exhaled a lot at this time, but the intake was less. But I still dare not answer this question, otherwise he may be greeted by the next 30 whips. The old man looked at the situation in front of him, his eyes loosened, he picked up the porcelain bowl on the table and spilled the liquid on the Anbei heron. Ah, it hurts. The roar came from the Anbei population, his back was covered with wounds, and he could only rub back and forth on his stomach on the ground. It seems that such a twist can bring him a little comfort. To shut up. I can't bear this bit of pain, and I still want to lead the Onmyoji to the peak like my ancestors did? Your biggest mistake this time is that your brain is controlled by desire. You must remember today's lesson. You are now the head of the family. Your decision no longer represents an individual, it is the entire family. A wrong decision may bury the whole family. The old man looked at the Anbei heron on the ground, and his stretched brows wrinkled again, as if he was not the only seedling left in his home. This mistake alone would deprive him of the position of patriarch even if he did not die. Do you know that Kazuki, your target, how many years did he prepare for that imaginary cursed spirit? A full 10 years. And you only saw the benefits he brought because of this cursed spirit. This kind of vanity shouldn't appear on the master of the house. In the next 3 years, you can only practice at home. When will you reach quasi-level 1, and when will you be able to go out? Tonight, if you sleep directly here, the scars on your body will heal tomorrow. The old man shook his head and blew out the candlelight. Advertisement: a wooden house in the middle of the mountains. Kamo Shanlun greeted the candlelight. Muddy eyes stared at the flames swaying in front of him, not just thinking about something. Soon, he came back to his senses. I set the paper in my hand to light, and the corner of his mouth was slightly lifted. I thought I would have to wait 100 years, but now it seems that 50 years will not be necessary. Zenin Ryuichi, should I hate you, or should I thank you? The next day, early morning, Fu Hesher brought the child to the house of everything. Say hello to uncle. Fu Heiwei looked helpless, looked at the hardworking Nanami Kento, and said weakly, hello, uncle. If you are looking for a boss, he is in the office. Please don't bring children to me, I hate children. Hey, I don't like to listen to you, Wait for me, I will go too. When Fu Hesher heard Nanami Kento's words, he repeatedly raised his sleeves and prepared to talk about life with Nanami Kento. Fushiguro Megumi took advantage of this gap and walked towards Ryuichi's office. Soon he came to his door. Fu Hesher caught up and opened the door. Unsurprisingly, Ryuichi was looking bored at the phone. Check out what's happening recently. Fu Hesher was not welcome, and asked his son to find a place to sit down and walked to the freezer very skillfully. I took 2 bottles of the most expensive drink in it. Gudong gudong. Haha, Fushiguro Megumi took the drink and looked at his father helplessly. Isn't it shameful to drink water like this? Looking at the expectant look in Shire's eyes, he drank the drink in his hand. Under the hint of Shire's crazy eyes, finally, aha. Shire felt a lot more relieved in an instant, and turned his head to look at Ryuichi. I heard the blind man say, do you agree to let my child go to Jujutsu College in the future? Ryuichi continued to stare at the phone, a little speechless in his tone. It's because he thinks this child is talented and wants Fu Heiwei to be his student. I asked him to discuss with you directly, so, you agree? Seeking flowers, well, I agree. Advertisement. Ryuichi put down the phone. This answer is still a bit surprised. Shire seemed very calm this time. The reason is simple, I can't teach him how to use his jujutsu well. He is the heaven and the tyrant, you let him go out to fight, easy and freehand. But let him teach the children how to use jujutsu. He can't do anything. Thinking of this, his eyes not only looked at his boss. Stop it. Shire rolled his eyes and was stopped without saying anything. What kind of intuition is this? That's it, I can't teach, and I don't want to ask for help. It's better to let Wei Wei find a teacher by herself. Since the blind man is willing to teach, I have no reason to stop it. Suddenly, Shire thought of something. He arched his body and asked thiefly. Boss, are there any stocks lately? Speak English. Ryuichi gave him a blank look, this guy has been with the baby since. That day, the temperament of the tyrant disappeared instantly, and he was out of control on the road of funny comparison. Have you got any hot information lately? Shire tasted the sweetness of selling news, and didn't have to run around, just want to pay a small deposit. Money is pouring in like flowing water. No, think about it carefully, for example. The earthquake occurred last week, and there were signs of an eruption on Mount Fuji some time ago. Shire stared at Ryuichi's face all the time. As long as he had a strange expression, then he was doing the right thing. The first few incidents were fairly normal, but the more they talked later, the more outrageous. Stop. Have you been free lately? Shire heard the question and showed an expression that you know. Fu Heiwei has been on vacation recently, and he has always maintained the image of a good father. It has been a long time since I went out to start work. Ryuichi saw his expression and knew his departure now, and threw the phone to him. Assign a task to you. The address and phone number of the person asking for help are on it, so you should take your child to do a parent-child activity. Shire looked at the phone, and it showed an old man who was over 70 years old, and the bounty was only 10,000 yuan. But Shire is obviously also accustomed to the current price positioning. After looking at the phone address, he changed the phone back. I should have a salary for this job, right? Yes, give me the money I used to sell intelligence, too. Chapter 280 Advertisement. There are still people coming in and out of the convenience store late at night. On the dim street, the lights on the road flashed at this moment. It's a bit weird. Woo, who, help, help. The rush of footsteps sounded from the entrance of the street, and a figure appeared afterwards, panting and fleeing wildly, and behind the Buddha, there was a beast chasing after the flood. Can't stop. These 5 words have always appeared in Lin Meisha's mind. Even if her legs are now as heavy as lead and her heart is about to jump out of the end, she can't stop running away. Only in this process, use the remaining physical strength to shout for help around. The closed door, the dark window, everyone is pressing on her nerves. In the process of escaping, she looked back, trying to see exactly what was chasing her. It was still the dim and empty street, but the sense of oppression was even stronger at this time. Almost catching up, he didn't dare to hesitate, closed his eyes tightly, and accelerated the pace under his feet. However, at this moment of emergency, she only felt her feet slippery. It's over. Lin Meisha was looking at her eyes, looking at the ground close at hand. A reveling lantern appeared in her mind. From elementary school until graduation to work. It turns out that my life is so boring. If there is an afterlife, I must not be a social animal. Bang. The whole person fell to the ground. She was motionless, waiting to be swallowed by invisible creatures. Miss, if it's okay, please don't fall in front of me. If someone sees me, I will be very upset. Lin Meisha opened her eyes wide, feeling the powerful beating of her heart. I'm not dead. Wrong, that feeling has not disappeared. She just got up hurriedly and looked in the direction behind her. Although there was no one there, she could feel that there was something staring at them. Why not keep chasing? Is it because we are afraid of being crowded? With the doubt in his heart, Lin Meisha turned his attention to the person who had just spoken. Yellow hair accompanies the stern face, and a delicate costume is meticulously managed. With beer and bento in his hand, it looks like he just came out of the convenience store. Advertisement. For some reason, she suddenly felt like finding the same kind. But now is obviously not the time to think about this. There is a monster there, let's run. Lin Meisha hurriedly took his hand, ready to let him escape. From the time she fell to the present, she has recovered some physical strength. She just wants to find a monastery and hide in it for a few days. Yep. Hurry up. If you don't go, don't come to me if something goes wrong. Nanami Kento looked at the panicked woman in front of him blankly. Wearing a black OL costume, his face has become messy because of the fall, but from the shape of his face and facial features, it should be a beautiful woman. But it doesn't make much sense to Nanami Kento. After all, he is still young. Looking in the direction she was pointing, a humanoid creature with eyes all over his body stood in the middle of the street, with his hands flying up and down like 2 whips. 2 wretched eyes appeared on that face, and over time, they would still move on the body. Countless tentacle-like things spit out from its end. The mucus on his body fell on the ground from time to time, exuding a faint odor. There is nothing there, you worry too much. Standing here, you can smell the smell of that monster. But he can't take action now. After all, this woman is just an ordinary person, and he has no means to shield it. Woman, hey, woman, the woman is mine. Before Lin Meisha could refute, the monster rushed towards them. Hey, are you still here? Pulling up Lin Meisha with the left hand, the 2 of them leapt back and moved away from the monster. You take things first, and bring them to me tomorrow at the House of Everything on the next street. Lin Meisha stared blankly at the things in his hands, and was stunned for a while. Why stay here? Let's go. Oh, I will take things over tomorrow. With the sound of a rush of running away, until the figure completely disappeared from the street, he turned his gaze to the monster. But the monster's target was obviously not him. The misplaced eyes moved above the tentacles, and the whole body flew forward like a slime. I hate working overtime. Overtime is not as good as shit in my eyes. And you, let me taste it today. A bright light flashed in his eyes, and a straight line appeared in his eyes. Suddenly a black blade appeared in Nanami Kento's hand, and he slammed it heavily at 7-3 of the monster's body. Broken. Advertisement. The mucus broke at the sound. The monster looked at the broken body and roared vigorously as the mucus swayed wantonly on the street. After a while, the streets were covered by this mucus, and his nose filled his nose with an unpleasant smell. Nanami Kento was about to hold the handle of the knife tightly, observe the monster's body, ready to take another shot, directly slaying the monster. Yep. Feeling a movement under his feet, he found that the mucus around him crawled up his trouser legs slowly. Below the knee, he didn't listen to his orders at all. Nanami Kento frowned, and he couldn't think of a 4th-level cursed spirit still having such ability. Ha ha ha. Woman, my woman. When the monster saw this, the tentacles in his mouth condensed into a huge whip, which slashed towards him from top to bottom. Familiar line segments once again appeared in Nanami Kento's eyes. The distance is too far to touch, however, the impact is not significant. Although it cannot cause a critical strike, a normal attack is also possible. The black blade slashed again, and the huge whip was like jelly under its blade. Ah, women, my woman, my. The monster's wandering eyes returned to his face again, and his whole body rushed towards Nanami Kento. Huh. A sneer of ridicule appeared on Nanami Kento's unchanged face. Since you were looking for death yourself, then I'm not welcome. A black light flashed, and the monster's body suddenly broke. The mucus on his body instantly stiffened and fell like lime. Soon it turned into dust. The breeze blows. The unpleasant smell drifted away from the street. Everything just didn't seem to exist. Nanami Kento stood aside, remembering the battle just now. His eyes focused on the black blade in his hand. This knife turned out to be a cursed tool. Regardless of the level of cursed tool, he can't buy it now. At this time, the roar of the motorcycle stopped beside him. A royal sister's voice sounded from his ears. Boy, what kind of woman do you like? Chapter 281 Advertisement. Early the next morning. The door of the House of Everything was closed tightly. Lin Meisha stood at the door in a daze. After I ran away yesterday, that feeling disappeared. I felt relieved, but thought of the man who had saved him. I hope he's okay. Although she let herself run at the time, something really happened, and she still couldn't make it through her conscience. Give me things. Here you are. Lin Meisha handed the things out subconsciously, and instantly grasped the bag tightly after regaining consciousness. Found that it was the man yesterday. Is he okay? Very good, otherwise, I may feel guilty for a lifetime. Hello. I call my name Lin Meisha, thank you for saving me yesterday. Lin Meisha specially gave the leader a leave early in the morning. Drew a beautiful makeup, replaced the old work clothes, put on a t-shirt and shorts. The wheatish complexion looks dazzling under the sun. She didn't understand why she was so happy, only knew that today she wanted to make a good impression on the savior. She looked at Nanami Kento expectantly, waiting for him to compliment her today's outfit. It's okay. Yesterday you were just too tired at work, which caused nervousness. 23. I took you to do a backflip and let you run away, just to let your emotions vent. This way you won't feel this way again when you go back. Is it better after I go back? Wow. The door to the House of Everything opened. Nanami Kento put his own things on the side of the table and prepared to eat them at noon. The expression on Lin Meisha's face changed from expectation to dullness. God TM worked overtime to get nervous. Are you more like a social animal than me? Obviously still very young, but with the expression of a middle-aged uncle. Today's makeup is white. Advertisement. Well, then Nanami Kento. It turns out you like this type. Before Lin Meisha said goodbye, a tall, perfectly curvy, long-haired beauty stood in front of her. A pair of enchanting eyes fixed on her face and slowly approached. Mirin Meisha was stared at by these eyes with fear, as if some bad restriction in his heart was about to be broken. The heart couldn't help beating faster, and there were many red clouds floating on his cheeks. Feeling the scent of the royal sister, she closed her eyes with excitement. This feeling is even worse than meeting Nanami Kento at the House of All Things. My heart is full of contradictions and expectations. Miss Sister, don't get excited, I won't eat you again. Feeling the breeze coming from my ears, my small ears moved up and down. As if being molested, it turns red in an instant. 99 Yuki saw this situation and left this sensitive girl. Turned his head and asked, is your boss here? Not at the moment, you can choose to wait a while or come back in the afternoon. Then I will wait a while. 99 Yuki parked his motorcycle and walked into the House of Everything. See how he works seriously, and continue with yesterday's question. What type of woman do you like? Yesterday, because he was on the street, Nanami Kento turned a deaf ear to this issue. What kind of boss is looking for what kind of employee? Lin Meisha looked at the two people in front of her, her eyes drooping slightly, her expression low. Did the two of them meet? This question has been lingering in her heart. I'm leaving first, I still have to thank you for your help yesterday. Before she could say anything, she left this sad place. Your admirer is gone, don't you care about it? Yuki looked at the leaving back, and teased Nanami Kento, you are so heartless. It's my instinct to take care of the weak, and it has nothing to do with men and women. Also, if you have to wait for the boss, please do not affect my work. Toot toot. Toot toot. 99 Yuki went out to answer the phone, looked at Nanami Kento helplessly, and said, Woo, I don't think there is a chance today, come again next time. Half an hour after 99 Yuki left, Fuiisher appeared anxiously in the room. Involuntarily ran to Ryuichi's office and found no one inside. Advertisement, Nanami. Where's the boss? Zenin Ryuichi, where is he? Do not know. It is not surprising that their boss will never show up almost every time a major event occurs. This matter must have something to do with him, and you must ask the news after you come back. How much is this news going to sell? 100 million, or 200 million directly? Yaya Agawa Laboratory. All the scientific researchers gathered together and watched the experiment video with excitement. Just now, based on experimental data, they succeeded in bringing Susano to life at the beach. Although less than a minute, this case is enough to make them feel excited. The first step of God's summoning plan has been completed, and we have brought it to life, but we can't take it lightly. The real difficulties are yet to come. Yoshida River soothed the excitement of the crowd. There was still a considerable distance away from the true creation of gods. He looked at the test tube in his hand, his eyes full of enthusiasm. Now, it's time to report the progress of the experiment to the boss. After several days of painstaking research, they successfully used that curse to transform the gods. Although the time is short, it is only because there is no energy. After all, they are not like the State Church of God, who can unscrupulously take the limit of living people. Just less than a minute, it consumed their 4-digit spell spirit. The next step is to study the energy source of the cursed fetus and try to make the transfigured god self-sufficient. Yaya Agawa put the potion in his hand on the observation platform. Professor Dahe, the cursed spirit in the laboratory is already insufficient. Do we need to reflect on the needs of future experiments? The subordinate stood behind Yaya Okawa and pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose. Although his expression was calm, he still couldn't conceal the enthusiasm in his eyes. No, can our medicine be produced? He opened the information in his hand, looked at the data on it, nodded, and said, from the data point of view, our medicine can already be produced in batches. But, like the God Resurrection plan, we lack a large amount of cursed spirit as raw materials. Hearing the report, Yaya Okawa kept tapping on the table with his right hand. The first step of the God Resurrection plan has been completed, and the second step is not urgent for the time being. First, empty the resources. Now, we will produce a batch of medicines first. We need these medicines to fill the gap in resources. If it was before, this does not need to be reminded by hand. He went directly to those people's homes to ask for resources. But now it is different. What he holds in his hands is likely to bring himself a murderous disaster. What's more, he already has a boss now, so he shouldn't reach out to those people anymore. Chapter 282 Advertisement School Study Room. Today it is Dailing's turn to accompany Xiangyu to study in the study room. Xiangyu studied hard there, but Dailing was swiping her phone. Xiangyu looked up at her best friend, her face full of helplessness. You can't force her. If you force her to study, in this quiet study room, there will be a grunt like an electric drill. Xiangyu, look at this news. Isn't it the cursed spirit you mentioned? Du Ling has gone through so many things with Xiangyu, and he has basically learned some news in the Jujutsu world. But what made her even more noticed was that the two handsome guys, Zenin Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru, turned out to be members of the Jujutsu world. The news made her feel uncomfortable for a long time. Xiangyu helplessly put down the book in her hand and looked at her mobile phone. No way, if she didn't watch it this time, she would probably stay entangled. Open black lens bracket shock. The Yachi Orochi in the business district disappeared suddenly, but the truth is. Open black lens bracket image. Image close black lens bracket. According to the news and photos provided by the reporter in front, we contacted a few people who saw the obvious manifestation of God at the time and asked them to talk about what happened at that time. We were fishing. We really saw. Finally, after discussing with biological experts, they learned that they should have had a group hallucination. After reading the news, Xiangyu's mind came up with a picture of the business district, Yaki Orochi. The same sudden, the same can be recorded, it's just not as bloody as last time. Xiangyu, do you say this has anything to do with Zenin Ryuichi? By the way, how is the monastery in your house? Do you continue to do it? Dailing is free and easy. The psychological trauma in the business district has been repaired long ago, and even now he wants to go shopping in other shopping malls. Xiangyu heard the words, and the stalwart figure of Zenin Ryuichi emerged in her heart. The appearance of Susano might really be related to that man. Hey, Xiangyu, let me ask you something. Which savage man is thinking about? When Xiangyu heard this, she rolled her eyes and thought that the man was you if she had nothing to do. It's been repaired, and the Gojo family paid for it, and the donations they got were 2 of us. The Jinhua temple has been in ruins. If the monks are allowed to pay, the Jinhua temple may no longer exist. Advertisement. Fortunately, out of humanitarianism, Gojo Satoru rebuilt the entire monastery in full. Originally, there was nothing I wanted to return, but Shufu Throne was unwilling to live and die. Only barely allowed the Gojo family to take away 20%. Your grandpa is true, too. Gojo Satoru's family is so big. People don't like this little money, so they don't give it. It's useless to force it to others. Xiangyu heard this with a wry smile, which was what she thought at the time. Thinking about it now, I'm still really young. My grandfather said that if you don't give money to others, after this contact, basically there will be no contact. But it's different when we give money. We can now declare to the public that we are doing things for the Gojo family, and the future will surely be much better. Your grandpa. It's this. Dailing couldn't help but put a thumbs up. He was really old and spirited. This idea is really good. Looking at the busy workers, Shufu Throne could not help but feel a trace of sadness in his heart. After so many generations of inheritance, the line of Shufu finally killed the demon. Presumably the elders in Elysium will be very happy after knowing this news. Shufu Throne flicked away the tears from the corners of his eyes, and his old pupils stood out firmly. After experiencing this incident, let him understand a truth. It's great to hold your thighs. If he was holding Gojo's thighs in the meantime, the Onmyoji wanted to make trouble, so he must weigh it. In fact, Shufu Yuzo still wants to take the line of Zenin Ryuichi. But he unceremoniously refused. Throne, are you demolished and rebuilt? A familiar voice came from the Shufu throne, and in a blink of an eye, an immortal monk was walking towards him. There is no wrong description, it is the bones of fairy style. If you don't have an outfit and a bald head, but let people see it, you will only think that this person is cultivating the Tao but not the Buddha. The natural breath is like a breeze, which makes people comfortable. Utny, why are you here? This year's exchange meeting is not supposed to be held here. I will come 2 days in advance to reminisce about the past. I'll tell you that we have recruited 20 more monks this year, and the seal is temporarily stable. You'd better recruit more people, hold on first. As soon as Utny finished speaking, he turned his head and looked at the location of the original temple with a smile. The smile on his face instantly froze. I saw that countless workers had already covered the outer wall, which was even a few meters higher than the original one. Advertisement standing here can't see the situation inside at all. But looking up, you can know that the hall inside has disappeared. Are you crazy? You choose to renovate the monastery at this time, aren't you afraid of the seal being destroyed? Even if the Buddha statue inside is well preserved, if no one chants the sutras to suppress these few days, the seal will be weakened a bit. If this continues, it is tantamount to cutting meat with a blunt knife. Shufu Throne looked at his old friend's excited face and understood his mood. My old friend is only a little better than myself, knowing a wealthy businessman in the world. No matter whether it is refurbished or stamped, they're all around. Although there was still no help from Jujutsu circles, the situation did not continue to deteriorate. Diaresis, don't worry, I won't have to worry about the issue of seal failure in the future. What? Please make it clear. Regardless of his image, Utny directly pulled Shufu's throne, breathing heavily in his nose and bloodshot eyes. Because of the excessive strength, his hands began to tremble slightly. My heart is full of anger. Their monks have gone through so many generations, and although they have suffered a lot of blindness, no one wants to give up. Even if it is determined to them, even if they die, they will stick to the last moment. Now that he heard that his old friend released the devil, he couldn't wait to take out the stick and send him to the world of bliss. Shufu Throne obviously realized that something was wrong with his old friend, and said with a wry smile, "You think too much, the sealed demon has been wiped out." I'm relieved. Disturbance. What? Hearing these 4 words, Utny stood there blankly, unable to believe it was true. But the sight in front of me seems to indicate that all of this is true. How did it happen? Say it soon, I don't want to go on like this anymore. Do you know how uncomfortable it is to be afraid of not seeing the sun the next day when you go to bed every night? Every time I see that Buddha statue, I can't help but want to destroy it and let the devil wantonly on earth. Do you know how much that kind of pressure is? Because of this broken seal, every time I read the scriptures, I think of what's in the seal. Now I can only hide in the meditation house every day to practice Taoism. Only at this time can I really be me. Chapter 283 Advertisement. The people around were shocked when they heard Yushin Kaichi's shout. Then I saw a monk with a fairy wind and bones, lowering his head and wiping tears again. Although I wanted to go gossip, everyone didn't know each other and had to give up. Shufu Throne's eyes lowered, thinking of the time when the 3 of them had discussed how to strengthen the seal. At that time, Yushin became very confident because he hugged the thigh of a wealthy businessman, and guaranteed that the seal would never go wrong in his generation. Hot, he and Lizzie Jingsho were jealous. It turned out that he was also under such great pressure in secret. Hey, why don't I know, this incident is an accident. Shufu Yuzo told the ins and outs of the whole thing, and Yushin listened to the whole thing like a story. You said, have you sealed a big tengu, also attracted the prying eyes of Anbei's family? Then what is sealed in our place? Shufu Throne rolled his eyes when he heard what his friend said. This is not the point. Okay. Think about what you can ask Zenin Ryuichi to do. If not, I can't help much. Utny lowered his head to ponder. The 3 of them knew each other, and Shufu had only those 2 relics to take out. Determined to have 2 treasures there, but they have now been destroyed. It seems that there are only yellow and white things in his own right now, and these things seem to be a bit hard to handle. After all, the 2 above are using treasures to strengthen the seal, but apart from the Buddha statue. Yes. There is a treasure from our ancestors that has been hidden in the main hall. It seems to be used to prevent the seal from being destroyed and the devil to escape. I have to go back and find it. When Utny thought of this, he stopped waiting. The purpose of coming here is to tell each other about the seal and then exchange experiences. At this stage, since there is a plan for complete liberation, there is no time to delay. It's not that Shufu Yuzo doesn't want to push Gojo's line out, but they and Gojo's family have not reached that point. People look down on your wealth, so why should I help you? Zenin Ryuichi is the owner of the House of Everything. As long as your treasure is in his eyes, you can get him a chance to shoot. It is easy to talk about the price clearly. In the afternoon of the next day, the owner's office of the House of Everything. 2 people stood at Zenin Ryuichi's desk. Advertisement. Yoshida River and Fuhasher. The 2 stared at each other like this, and none of them spoke first. What's the matter with you? Tell me quickly. After speaking, let's go. Fuhesher was naturally unwilling to speak first. After all, he wanted to share the money with the information from his boss. Hearing the instructions, Yaya Okawa excitedly opened the tablet he was holding and handed it to Ryuichi's hand. This is our experimental data and the test product. Ryuichi watched the video on the tablet and recorded the progress of the experiment in detail. After reading it at 32x speed, I have a rough idea. Go on. Yaya Agawa clenched his fists on his chest and said excitedly, this time, we succeeded in bringing Susanoo into the world and showing it to others. Although it is less than a minute, this is a big step forward from success. Don't talk nonsense, talk about the point. Yaya Agawa rubbed his hands. This kind of empty talk didn't seem to be of much use in front of the boss.
Hey, we have no resources. Ryuichi looked at Fuhesher's surprised eyes.
Shire, what do you want to say? Of course, Susanoo, who made trouble in the city yesterday, was actually made by you. Hearing Shire's exclamation, Yaya Okawa couldn't help but straighten his chest, and his flattering expression instantly converged. To be precise, it came from the hard work of all our researchers.
And our next plan is to allow Susanoo's male body to absorb human beliefs.
So as to achieve long-term death, as he said, he pushed the eyes on the bridge of his nose and said so much to this muscular guy. Just to tell the boss from the side, let him know that we have not been lazy lately and have a detailed research plan. These things sounded like, Susanoo, make money. Then the Yachi Orochi that was wiped out by the boss before was made by you?
A trace of disdain flashed in Yaya Okawa's eyes. He looked at the pile of experimental data and found out that through sacrifice, he succeeded in showing the sacred for a long time.
There is no reference value. That big snake is so fake that he doesn't want to complain. Even the big snake stitched up in his laboratory is more real than that. Advertisement. No, that fake, unworthy. Shi-er didn't feel any discomfort with his disdain. On the contrary, his joy was beyond words. Did you know? Jujutsu's online smashed the news of that Susanoo man's manifestation to 10 million. We just have to explode it and wait for the money. No, I don't allow this information to be exposed before the experiment is successful. That will only cause a lot of trouble for myself. Hearing the trouble, Shi-er's expression turned away in an instant, and his face was full of tyranny. Trouble. Who dares to make trouble, just kill it. The powerful murderous aura pushed Yaya Agawa to one side, as if standing in front of a murder god. The surrounding air also became thinner at this moment, and only desperate breathing could keep him alive. Ryuichi waved his hand to dissipate the killing intent. This matter is not in a hurry. Hearing Ryuichi's decision, Shi-er had no choice but to give up the idea. Yaya Okawa suddenly thought of something, took out the usual reagent from his pocket and put it on the desk. This tube of reagent is an improved and simplified version of quick energy, which reduces the original recovery from 30% to 20%, thus achieving the goal of mass production. We are going to disseminate the first batch of 150 reagents, in exchange for resources, for the research of the gut relief project. If it goes well, we can achieve self-sufficiency. Shire took the reagent in his hand and watched it carefully. This thing has been heard on the killer website before, and it is not cheap. And it has been out of stock. It turned out to be this thing. After all, he can't produce curse power in his body. This kind of reagent is tasteless to him. No, not even tasteless. But now it's different. It's a money-making machine. I'll sell this thing for you, and it won't affect your research. It will benefit you as much as you can. How about it? Hearing the words, Yaya Okawa's eyes kept trembling. My part of the income is replaced by cursed spirit. The higher the level, the better, and the more the number, the better. The corners of Zenin's mouth split open, revealing white teeth. This is simply giving yourself money. Have you finished talking? The two reached an agreement and left the office. Yaya Okawa still stared at Zenin Shire, but Shire didn't care about it. After all, he just hates Master Jujutsu, not the Gold Master. Can you let me solve you? Yep. Chapter 284. Advertisement Falyangji Temple, Kyoto. Yu Jianhua hurried back to the temple and walked to the entrance of the main hall. Looking at the Buddha statue sitting inside, no one would have thought that there would be a demon below. Now I finally have the opportunity to wipe it out, without a trace of excitement in my heart. Abbot, that very rich donor today here comes. Yu Jianhua frowned and glared at the novice monk. What is a rich donor? Go in and recite 100 times. Then he ignored him, turned and walked to the hospitality room. Donor Mao, it's getting better today. Yu Jianhua raised his leg to enter the door, and greeted the wealthy businessman who was drinking tea. This is your own thigh, you must hug it well. If it weren't for him, Filiang Temple might not be able to support it for so long. The abbot of Fao is also very good today. Yu Jianhua smiled, without explaining. After all, outsiders would not believe this kind of thing. The wealthy businessman lightly pressed his hat on his head and asked casually, did the abbot go out to visit the temple yesterday? Yushin Huai poured himself a cup of tea and said softly, yesterday, I went out to meet friends.
Oh, Fao's friend, I want to get to know, where are they from?
Yu Tianhua has no doubt about him. After all, people who do business follow the principle of friends in the world. Maybe getting to know it will be of great help to the future. After all, they also met through introductions. Oh, I'm also an abbot. I wanted to gather there for a few days, but when I arrived, I found out that they were renovating the monastery.
Helpless, I can only talk a few words and come back in a hurry.
With a curious look on the wealthy businessman's face, he asked, "Who is the abbot? If I have the opportunity, I will also sit down." "That person is the host of the Golden Blossom Temple in Tokyo. If you go, just say my name, and that person will know it. The inheritance of monks like them is too difficult now, and various sects are blooming all over the world. They no longer have the previous rules for this kind of handling of people and things. As long as they can live, they will be chanted every day to drive away evil spirits and keep a seal.
Even if the abbot becomes a businessman, it is not a failure."
The rich businessman's muddy eyes showed joy, and stood up, ready to stroll around the temple. Half an hour later, Yushin Wai followed the wealthy businessman and stood in front of the main hall. Looking at the monk sitting outside the door and chanting, "Every time I see this big Buddha and the sound of chanting around me, I feel as if I have been baptized. I wonder if I can visit behind the big Buddha? Advertisement?" As soon as Yu Jianhua heard this, he waved his hand quickly. "It's not convenient to visit there, so let's pay a visit to the benefactor again." The rich businessman stopped talking, bowed to the Buddha, and left.
As soon as Yu Jianhua watched the wealthy businessman leave, he couldn't help wiping the sweat from his head.
I don't know why this man suddenly wanted to look behind the Buddha statue. As if thinking of something, he said to the little novice monk beside him, "I will go out again in a few days. You guys stay here with peace of mind. You don't need less homework every day. If a wealthy businessman comes, tell him that I will visit a friend and let him visit by himself. Tonight, he will take away the treasure and ask Zenin Ryuichi to help solve the devil." Late at night, in front of the main hall of Fajing Temple. At this moment, the temple was very quiet, and only a few snoring sounds came from the backyard. A figure stood in front of the main hall, looked at the giant Buddha, and bowed. This person is Yushin Kaichi, and his purpose is very clear. Just to take away the treasures behind the Buddha. He approached and found that there was a box-like thing hanging in the back of the big Buddha. Take it down. It turned out to be a box with eyes on 6 sides. What is this? Although they belong to the Jujutsu world, they have been thinking about how to suppress the seal for many years. There is very little knowledge about Jujutsu world items. I hope this stuff has enough weight. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared behind him like a ghost, looking at the box in his hand. "Abbot Fao. Where are you going?" Yushin Waichi was scared by the sudden sound and almost couldn't hold the box in his hand. After stabilizing his figure, he looked carefully outside the temple and discovered that it was the wealthy businessman. With doubts in his heart, he asked, "Filiang Temple does not accept incense at night, please come back tomorrow. The purpose of my trip is not to offer incense, but to fetch what is in your hands." In the early morning of the next day, inside the hotel outside the gate of Jinhua Temple. Suddenly, Shufu Throne was shocked from the bed, and his right hand was covering his chest, cold sweat dripping from his cheeks, as if he had seen something terrifying. This feeling, seeking flowers. When Li Ji Jingshu's seal was destroyed, it was also the feeling of heart palpitations. Could it be? He grabbed the phone next to him and broadcast it towards Kyoto. Advertisement. "Hello, I am the abbot of Jinhua Temple in Tokyo. Please ask Fao to answer the phone." "Oh, hello, our host is not here today. He visited a friend and may not be back in a short time." Hung up the phone. Shufu Yuzuo's face was gloomy, and at the moment the word Ichuan formed on the forehead between her eyebrows. "Which friend to visit? Could it be that you have found the treasure and are going to find Zenin Ryuichi?" "No, I have to go to the House of Everything. After finishing my clothes, I picked up my mobile phone and took a taxi to the House of Everything." Shufu Throne came to Nanami Kento and asked in a low voice, "Sir, are there any monks like me who come to ask for help today?" Nanami Kento raised his head, checked his clothes, and then continued busy with his work, and replied, "No, no one has come to find the boss today." "Okay, thanks." After saying this, the anxiety in Shufu's Throne's heart became more serious. "Wait here, what if Yushin Wai comes with something?" In this way, Nanami Kento worked in the house, and he crouched at the door of the House of Everything. This strange combination attracted the attention of passers-by. Fuhesher came to Nanami Kento, pointed outside and asked, "What is that guy doing here?" "I don't know, it seems to be waiting for someone." Waiting at the door of the House of Everything. Shire walked behind Shufu Throne and asked loudly, "Old fellow, what are you doing here?" The sudden sound startled him. I stood up instantly, found that it was Fuhesher, and quickly said, "My friend wants me to introduce Mr. Ryuichi, but I haven't come yet, so I just want to wait here." Shire pointed to the chair by the wall. "Wait for someone to go there and wait, don't stop us from doing business." "Good good." Shufu Throne hurried to sit down in the chair. Looking at Fuhesher who had returned to the house. He sighed. "Almost, I just felt that I was so close to death." Wiping the cold sweat on his face, looking at the passers-by. "The heaviness in my heart is getting heavier and heavier. I just hope that I'm too worried." Earth, Chapter 285. Advertisement today was the pharmaceutical trading day, and Fuhesher came to the agreed place with 2 boxes. This is an abandoned reservoir. Towering on all sides, there was stagnant water lying flat in the middle. Countless flies and insects are flying in the sky, and mice are drifting in the water from time to time. Fu Hesher looked at the surroundings with contempt on his face. Are you the one who sells medicine? A joking voice echoed from behind him, accompanied by a series of footsteps. When he turned around, he found that he was surrounded by several people. Haha. Do you know what you are doing? Just relying on you miscellaneous fish, still want to grab something from Lao Su? Da. What greeted him was not nonsense, but a sudden burst of fire. Shi-er leapt slightly, jumped into the sky, and looked at the people shooting at each other below, with a deeper smile on his face. Just your brain, you still want to kill Lao Su around May 4th and 3, for fear that your head will be squeezed by the doorframe.
Before the words fell, the smile on his face had not disappeared, and only a few people on the ground raised their muzzles at the same time.
At the same time, a large net full of curse power appeared from behind him, blocking all his retreat. Shi-er clenched and hooked his head back, and a black shadow flashed past. The big net shattered, and Shire stood 10 meters away with a dagger in his mouth. As soon as his hands were loosened, the two black boxes disappeared. The final dagger fell into his hand, looking at the people in front of him. Interesting. A group of ordinary people wearing Jujutsu protective suits and using the cursed tool, a 3-level seal, really lost money. For some reason, I still felt the figure of the disgusting person from these things. Is it his product? If you don't come out again, your dog stuff will be gone. Fu Hesher raised his head and shouted. He wanted to take this opportunity to solve all the troubles. Bang bang bang. There was a burst of applause in the sky, and with a burst of distortion, a man and 2 women appeared in the sky. From the standpoint and clothing point of view, the status of men is obviously much higher. Hairless on the top of his head, bulging temples, small eyes, dumpling ears, plus a whole body of muscles, he looks like a master at close combat. The 2 women behind are dressed as dancers, their entire faces are covered with powder, and they look like a paperman from a distance. Well, it really doesn't conform to the aesthetics of modern people. As expected of Zenin. Oh no, Fu Hesher, I didn't expect to have such a strong perception. Advertisement, how is it? Are you satisfied with my meeting gift? Fu Hesher said with an unhappy expression. Why are you standing so high? Is it because of kidney deficiency that you are afraid of peeing on your feet? Let me help you. Boom. Fu Hesher slammed his feet, and a deep pit was stepped out of the ground in an instant. A black shadow cut through the sky and appeared in front of the 3 of them instantly. Ha 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 ha. Get out of me, yep. With one blow, Fu Hesher's smile was fixed on his face, and the imaginary touch did not appear. Da. Another burst of fire. A trace of tyranny appeared in Shire's eyes, and his body twisted into a ball in the air. Base. When the whole person disappeared from the air and appeared again. There are a few more heads on the ground. I remember your smell, no matter how deep you hide, I can dig you out and then. Just like dealing with rats and mice, trample you to death. Fu Hesher stood up straight, his muscles relaxed, as if talking to himself. Suddenly, the lawn twisted behind him, and 3 figures appeared again. Don't say that, we're here to talk about deep meaning, don't we? Wow. A handle penetrated through the 3 in an instant, and the figure was distorted by the wind carried by the long knife. Shi-er squeezed his hand to cut off the blade, feeling a little bored in his heart. This guy was as boring as a mouse. But it could not be caught. As if feeling Shi-er's irritation, the person explained. After all, it's about business. We still have to make sure that we are safe. 2 of the 2 around me, one of them uses a light manipulation, to refract light, which is very good whether it is used to hide or confuse the enemy. The other one can transfer the breath to another place to confuse the opponent. She frowned slightly when she heard that. No wonder she couldn't feel the difference in perception, it turned out to be the case. What about you? Are you a trash with these 2 accompanying you? Hearing this, the man narrowed his small eyes, stealing a trace of anger in his eyes, clenched his fists, and being a strong fleshly man couldn't bear this kind of derogation the most. Suddenly, the 2 behind him put their hands on his shoulders, and a chill penetrated through the skin. He instantly suppressed his anger and said, I am just the guard this time. If we can't avoid it, I will take action to ensure the safety of the cargo. Is it just to guarantee the goods? Advertisement. She understands that there is no point in entanglement now. 2 black boxes appeared on the ground, containing 50 potions. The man saw the potion, his eyes showed greed, his tongue couldn't help but licked his lips. He gestured behind him, and Shi-er appeared in front of a suitcase with 10 test tubes in it. However, the body is small, and it is more like a tube for storing blood during a blood test. Not too much nonsense, took out a small machine from behind, similar to a centrifuge, with only one space above and a display below. Put the test tube on, 10 is displayed on it. After checking everything, Shi-er carried the box and left. Although Shire left, none of the 3 of them moved the box on the ground. Hey, I don't know why the master wants to provoke such a person, this is completely offended. The master has his own arrangements. We should have died, because his rescue has only survived until now, and this life will be paid if it is paid back. If you are impatient, we can report your attitude upward. The man standing in the middle was speechless, licking like cannon fodder. You can only guard here first, waiting for Fuhesher to enter the city, taking things away. He was not stunned. The words heaven and tyrant were enough to suppress everything in his heart. Bang! The laboratory door was opened violently. Yaya Okawa widened his eyes, looking at the people coming.
The body couldn't help but began to tremble. Who caused this, master, again?
You. Don't come over, Today I'm going to do an experiment. Snapped. A suitcase was thrown on the table, full of test tubes. After seeing this, Yayata Kawai didn't care about being afraid, so he rushed up and took the test tube in his hand and checked it repeatedly. It can be seen from the consistency of the liquid inside that it is at least concentrated by 10 4-level cursed spirits. Haha, come sit and do it. Who are you angry with? You know, it was the first time he saw this heaven and tyrant when he was in the House of Everything. At that time, his heart was full of words. This guy is so powerful, can he copy it?
I couldn't help but ask when I left. As a result, he ran back to the laboratory naked on the day.
The knife was engraved in my mind, and I could never forget it. Don't provoke anyone in the House of Everything. Chapter 286 Advertisement. After listening to Fuhesher's words, Yaga Okawa replied thoughtfully. It sounds like what Iiharu Nakado did, but there is no reason for him to do it. The elder personally issued the ban, and there is no need for anyone to provoke Zenin Ryuichi. Now anyone dares to commit crimes? I'm not asking you to analyze the problem, I want to ask if you can hack their jujutsu. You can feel it but you can't touch it. It feels like you're walking on the road, but suddenly you smell a shit. It's very disgusting, but you can't avoid it. There was a trace of embarrassment across Yaya Okawa's face, and it was so unique to describe it like this. There are two ways to solve this problem. First, I will give you a kind of liquid. Before fighting with them, pour all the liquid on the ground. The liquid will move towards the place where the brainwaves are emitted, but you need to judge by yourself. Position. The second kind, you go to find a kind of ore. It is Caladry stone. I can make it into a pair of glasses, can see through any disguise. Fuhesher couldn't help feeling a little moved when he heard the second plan. After all, before that, he had always relied on his perception of curse power to fight. It can be said to be unprofitable, but today I discovered that there are people in the world who can disguise these things. Since one person will meet, there will be a 23rd person. Although the first method is simple, it is not practical. It is too obvious to sprinkle it every time you fight. Individuals will take advantage of this opportunity to escape. The second method is the most satisfactory and is very suitable for people like him who don't have any porridge. In addition, you can ask your boss to help you make a pair of glasses with the same effect, and you don't have to look for stone. Forget it. This is my business. What is it to ask the boss for help? If this is spread to the blind, then you won't be laughed to death? Yaya Okawa nodded when he heard this, and now he also understands the relationship between the three. He has great abilities and similar personalities, and he is unwilling to push his own affairs to others. Do you know the specific location of the ore? I don't know. I just saw someone exhibit at the World Scientific Research Organization, and learned about its effects. But where I got it, they didn't mark it, and I didn't find it. I even suspect that this kind of rock is a foreign object from the sky. Shi-er frowned and waved his hand. He was most annoying to listen to such long talks. A little impatiently said on his face, in other words, you just said so much, just talking for fun? The temperature in the room dropped a few minutes with the words, and even a faint mist appeared in the eyes of Yaya Okawa. No, although I don't know where it was produced, I have seen its research data, based on the elemental analysis inside the ore. It should be in a humid place with long sunshine hours. Similar to tropical regions on Earth. Yaya Okawa wiped the cold sweat from his face and carefully glanced at Shear's expression. Advertisement. I really want to slap myself. Seeing this gangster coming to ask a question, he couldn't help but say what he wanted. This is a habit that I have developed after a long time with jujutsu executives. The time is really hard to change, it's better now. A stick drove himself in. If I didn't find it, I would just explain it to you. Actually we can still. Okay, I probably know. I will post a reward on the internet to see if anyone knows about the ore. The corner of Yaya Dehei's mouth raised, and the hurdle in his heart finally passed. If no one finds it, when Wei Wei starts school, I will go to the tropical jungle myself. I have to get the ore back. After speaking, Shi-er stopped staying and left the laboratory directly. Only Yaya Okawa was left, looking at the box on the table with tears. I have met someone. Snapped. A slap on the face. This mouth must be closed in the future. Time came to night in a blink of an eye. In the Middle-earth mansion, a person kneeled in the defense, with two boxes in front of him. A young man with a sturdy physique, combed his head, and a knife-slashed face, didn't look like an oriental race. But his eyebrows are thick and black, and his entire eyeballs are like grapes, so clean and bright. The bronze-colored skin is matched with a capable muscle, and the proportions of the body are perfect, and the breath of a tough guy rushes to his face. Behind him stood two dancer-like women massaging him. Why come back so late? Hearing the problem, the kneeling person immediately pressed his body down again, and his entire chest was almost on the ground. Master, Fuhesher is famous. I can only dare to take things back when I confirm that he is not nearby. The sound fell, and the room was extremely quiet. He raised his head cautiously, trying to wink the two dancers and say a few words to help. Bang! Before he lifted his face, he was smashed to the ground.
A foot appeared on the back of his head. Trash. Even if I didn't do things well, I dared to raise my head.
Advertisement. The strength under his feet couldn't help but hit another point. Master, since the things have been taken back, please send them to them quickly. Yes, don't waste time on this kind of garbage. Well, I will send the stuff, and let this person go to the island to do hard work for 3 years. When the person who was stepped on the ground heard these words, his body began to tremble as if he had encountered something terrible. But he didn't dare to say more. He knew that if he dared to intercede now, he would definitely be waiting for more than 3 years of hard work. The young man picked up the box on the table and went to the backyard.
The decoration of the entire backyard is closer to the countryside, even at night.
You can still hear the sound of mountains and running water, and you can even see fireflies flying on the grass. Nakatu Juharu, have you got your things back? Yes, I have taken it back. Iharu Nikado put his hands in front of the house. Wow! The door of the house opened, and a pair of light blue hands took the potion in. 3 minutes later, a sigh came from inside. This thing still can't be copied. What? Juharu Nikado couldn't help clenching his fists, as if he didn't want to believe that this sentence was true. Are you questioning me? Juharu Nakado heard this and immediately bowed his head in fright. Although he was still unwilling, he could only swallow his anger in the face of such an existence. But, this does not mean that he can accept this statement. The room seemed to know his current mood, calmed for a while, and sighed. Fine, since you are not convinced, then I will tell you. In this batch of medicines, there are the same things as the batch of the State Church of God. And we can't make this kind of thing, so I can't do anything about it. Juching Nakado immediately bounced his body straight, his face was full of doubts, and turned into shock, and asked excitedly. What do you mean? Someone has obtained the experimental record of the Kingdom of God. Chapter 287 Advertisement. Hearing this question in the house, he did not answer much. Iharu Nikado calmed down his excitement and continued to ask, recently, what do you think of Susano who appeared on the beach? A chuckle came from the house. It sounded like an adult saw a child swinging a sledgehammer. It's just a fake, but it's much purer than the last so-called Yaki Orochi. Maybe in the past few decades, they might actually create these monsters. Is the evaluation of that kind of thing a monster? Juharu Nakado has set his mind in his heart, as long as he is not a cursed spirit or a real god. Then, I will retire first. Wow! The door opened and the box appeared in front of him. A trace of hesitation flashed across Nakado Juching's face, and he took the things away. After all, this is what they traded for. Although I didn't get the reagent formula, it's not totally unprofitable. At least, he knows that Vohesher is now the sweet pastry of all organizations. And, the research data of the State Church of God was obtained by a mysterious organization. Even, the destruction is just to blind them. They hide their true subject in a deeper place. At the same time, Fuhesher was on his way home. Look, Nanami Kento was fighting cursed spirit, and there was a girl standing beside him. An OL costume reveals an intellectual beauty, but now he looked drunk, still yelling to cheer. Nanami Kento. Hiccup. Come on, hiccup, oil. I think I should be, hiccup, my nerves are weak again today, hiccup, watching you do somersault in the air. Fuhesher smirked and stood looking at the two. Suddenly, the black breath enveloped Nanami Kento's blade, covering it with different spells. Snapped. The entire cursed spirit was instantly destroyed by this knife. Ha 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 ha. You finally jump, hiccup, it's over, I also, hiccup, it's time to go. Nanami Kento looked at the leaving figure, uncomfortable on his calm face. Today this is overtime again. Hello, Nanami Kento, I didn't expect you to be so indifferent in the store and kind of warm-hearted outside. Fuhesher emerged from the darkness, walked in front of him, and put his shoulders on him. Nanami Kento's face remained unchanged, and he pushed the hand down silently. It is my instinct to protect the weak, it has nothing to do with mission or principle. I have to go to work tomorrow, please allow me not to chat with you here. Advertisement. Fuhesher looked at Nanami Kento who was going away. Hey, this guy. Early the next morning, Lin Meisha stood in front of the House of Everything. Today she is not dressed up, with messy hair, red eyes, and dry lips, and she looks like she is not sleeping well. Apparently, he just got up and ran over after changing his clothes. Yesterday, she submitted her resignation to the company. In the evening, she drank with a colleague, and accidentally drank too much. I still have a vague impression of what happened after drinking yesterday.
It seems that I was saved by Nanami Kento again. Mirin Meisha, why did you drink so much last night? I can't remember if I was rescued, I'm still cooking.
It's all right now, I'm embarrassed. Wow, the door of the House of Everything was opened. Nanami Kento still turned a blind eye to the people outside. Thank you for saving me yesterday. Mirin Mesa bowed deeply, and the loose t-shirt revealed the endless amorous feelings inside at this moment. No answer was received. Suddenly, she noticed that the collar was wide open and the scenery inside was exposed. The blood was concentrated on the head in an instant, and the two small ears were red at this moment. He straightened instantly and looked forward, trying to explain what he had just done.
It was found that the person inside did not turn his attention to her.
A hint of disappointment appeared on the originally shy face. She didn't know why there was such an emotion. Is there a customer? Nanami Kento won't come out to pick up the customer. The sound of teasing sounded from behind Mill and Meisha.
Fuhesher appeared in front of them with a strange smile. The blood that had gradually receded surged in an instant.
No, it's okay, I'll leave first, see you next time. Mill and Meisha bowed slightly to Fuhesher and seemed to leave here. Fuhesher looked at the girl's back, with a hint of interest in his eyes. The girl's physique is a little different from ordinary people.
Then he turned his head and looked at Nanami Kento with a big smile.
Nanami, I need to find something, so please do me a favor. Fuso, Yokohama. Advertisement except Tokyo, the most densely populated city.
The underside of a backer park was crowded with people.
The entire park was covered by an invisible curtain.
It seems so ordinary, there is no difference. At this time, a group of people in black stood waiting anxiously outside the tent. The level of the event has been raised, and the next Jujutsu teacher Gojo Satoru is on his way. Let's hold on.
Hearing this news, the people in black around him breathed a sigh of relief. So far, the cursed spirit inside is fairly stable, and there is no plan to come out. The tents laid out this time are for entry but not exit. In order to prevent anyone from sneaking in, the windows gathered outside the cordon and waited. A group of people eating melons gathered around, poking their heads and looking inside. Diaresis, stay away from the cordon. If you find someone moving the cordon privately, arrest it immediately and never tolerate it. 2 warnings stopped most of the hookers from joining in the fun. But there is always such a group of people in this world, why don't you let him do it? Commonly known as cheap bones. With so many people around, something must have happened inside, so what, do you want to go in and have a look? A young man in a white school uniform with a yellow comb on his head was squatting on the slope of the backing book, watching what happened before. That's not good, if there is a criminal inside, then the 2 of us will go in, don't we give them hostages? Another young man held his school bag and looked at Coxcomb, Li Ma Jiao, with a worried look, for fear of being dragged in. Snapped. Just let you in. Don't talk nonsense with me. It's so big here. There was a red mark on the honest man's face for an instant. His right hand touched the place where he was beaten, only feeling hot and painful. I didn't dare to say much, I could only follow behind and ran towards the mountain. At this time, the whole area was shaken. All the people in black began to maintain the operation of the account. The 2 took advantage of this gap and got in. Grass. Did someone just go in? Who sneaked in? You can really pick the time to find death, and I'm afraid that you won't even be able to find the corpse. The curse from the outside is naturally not heard inside, and even if it is heard, there will be no response. Jigwantu's status in the school is not low, everyone is ruthless. The relatives are the top of the school, and even the teacher can only bow his head when dealing with his problems. It was his turn today. Pull, Chapter 288 Advertisement. After the 2 got in, they found nothing unusual. Started to wander around, not caring about the danger. The honest man's name is Zhang Taiyang, and his family conditions are average. I was taught since I was young not to cause trouble to my family, and not to spend meaningless money. So I dare not make friends with other people in school. As a result, his personality has become withdrawn and he is often bullied by others. Even if you go home and tell your parents about this kind of thing, you will only get a bad word. Over time, I got used to the days of being bullied. Quickly keep up, like a gas bag every day. Come, go slower. Coxcomb stood on a boulder in front and looked down, and the scenery below was unobstructed. What's the matter? This is not all normal, it will scare myself. Wearing a suit and sunglasses, people who didn't know thought they were filming The Matrix. Zhang's son stood trembling behind him, looking down, his legs instantly softened, and he slumped on the boulder. Hearing the movement, the Coxcomb head looked back and sneered. Then, her eyes flashed, as if something interesting had been thought of, and a strange smile appeared on her face. Walked to Zhang's son, grabbed him by the collar, and dragged him to the side of the boulder. Fear of heights. If you are afraid of heights, you should take a look at them. Come on, don't be afraid. The more you flinch, the more scared you are. Come on. The more the Coxcomb head is pulled, the more the sun will retreat. People with fear of heights don't mean that they can be cured by standing taller. Even if you are lying on the ground and looking down, your mind will feel like you are about to fall. No, I'm dead. Don't pull me, I won't go over. Go away. Zhang Taiyang was so anxious that he kicked the head of the Coxcomb. Tang. The Coxcomb head stepped back 3 steps, and his body was along the edge of the boulder. Looking at the high and low behind him, tyrannical meaning floated on his face. I let you come over. The Coxcomb head lifted the farming son directly, looking at his eyes, it seemed that he would be thrown high and low in the next second. That way I am not dead or disabled. Immediately, time seems to freeze at this moment. A joking voice appeared in his ears. Are you afraid? Are you afraid? Do you hate him?
Do you hate him? Do you hate him? This voice was like the wind in April, running along his eardrums into his mind.
Advertisement then repeated inside. Who is it? Come out soon. Come out and save me. He screamed hard in his heart, hoping that this mysterious voice could stop the action of the coxcomb head at this moment. As long as he dies, you won't be bullied anymore. As long as he dies, you won't be scolded by your parents. Here is surrounded by people in black. He is dead. You will not be found at all. Kill him. Kill him. Quick. Kill him. That voice was like a ghost, constantly returning in his brain, constantly impacting his fragile worldview. What? Zhang Sun couldn't stand the sound in his brain, closed his eyes, and his right foot was charging backwards in the air. Ah! Coxcomb was kicked off the high ground by this panic kick, and Zhang Sun trembled all over and climbed to the edge of the boulder. Gaotu looked down, and the sweat on his head fell down at this moment. Looking at the woods below, the coxcomb head is alive or dead. Zhang Taiyang walked to the side of the road without a thought, collapsed to the ground, looking at the clouds in the sky. My heart is full of lightness and pleasure. Finally a smile appeared on his face.
This kind of scum should die. The sound came into his ears again, and he was so scared that he immediately sat up and looked around.
No one was found. Stop looking, I'm on your school bag. Zhang Sun looked down and saw a thumb-sized doll-like creature standing at the mouth of his school bag. Ah! What are you doing away from me? The words are divided into two ends. Gojo Satoru enters the account. It doesn't have the breath that the super-cursed spirit should have.
Suddenly, a huge fist appeared on Gojo Satoru's side, and the force of C-Trip's Wanjin hit him.
Boom! There seemed to be an invisible wall of gas beside Gojo Satoru, pushing his fist in the air. With this blocking, that fist melted instantly. Dropping on the lawn, these plants became dry and yellow when they touched the liquid. It's like being sucked in nutrients. Gojo Satoru ignored it, sensed the surrounding environment, and walked toward the depths of the woods. Responding to the dim sky, above a clearing in the center of the forest. A handsome young man is tasting food here. Zenin Ryuichi? Advertisement, come on. Give me a chair. The desktop has been cleaned up, and only a bottle of red wine is left. Gojo Satoru is welcome. I picked up a glass of red wine and poured myself a glass, but it was not in my mouth yet. A cup of 50,000. Oh, this is much more expensive than the red wine on the market. Without hesitation, he raised his head and sent the red wine into his belly. A peculiar warm current flowed down the spleen and stomach, to the limbs, and Gojo Satoru couldn't help but be clever. Feeling the beauty of the red wine, his cyan eyes avoided the sunglasses and looked at Ryuichi, who was enjoying. I heard that if you drink with you, the first drink is free. Why did you come to me for a fee? I am here, free wine, good to drink or not to take. Would you like a drink? Gojo Satoru chuckled. Forget it, it's fine to pay. You came this time, didn't you come with a mission? A trace of embarrassment appeared on Gojo Satoru's original relaxed face, which was replaced by a confident smile. Isn't it coming? Suddenly, an invisible force covered the sky. The surrounding flowers and trees withered at this moment. If someone splits the tree trunk, you will find that it has been hollowed out. Ryuichi looked at the surrounding environment and said to Gojo Satoru, your task, you will solve it. After speaking, Ryuichi disappeared with his belongings, and when he reappeared, he was sitting on the edge of the clearing with a bag of potato chips in his hand. The appearance of watching a play. Suddenly, the center of this space suddenly shattered, in the dark void. Two huge hands stretched out from the darkness. It had no intention of attacking, but stretched out to the sides and stayed in the air. With the force of both arms, the broken space seemed to be broken, and it instantly became bigger. A huge head stretched out from it, and the immature face looked like a 7 or 8-year-old child. A huge shockwave spouted from the tips of Gojo Satoru's fingers. With the powerful destructive power, the light wave lifted all the surrounding ground, accompanied by the howling hurricane. Shoot towards that head. Boom! The target was hit and the entire head was instantly exploded. Mission completed. Gojo Satoru comfortably turned to Zenin Ryuichi and greeted him. Ryuichi did not speak, but reached out his finger and tapped behind him twice. Roar. Chapter 289 Advertisement. The whole body appeared under this sky at this moment. In that huge body, there is infinite vitality hidden. The head that had been exploded appeared again, feeling the pain just now, yelling in anger. A huge cry filled the sky under the Forest Park del Sky. All living substances in the range are sucked out of the body. At this moment, the entire forest park looks like a cropland that has been used up too much. It's black and smelly, and the cursed spirit, who originally looked like a 6 or 7-year-old child, is taller again. He instantly became a giant over 6 meters tall, and the immaturity on his face disappeared, replaced by a teenager-like face. Then with the end of the roar, its love emerges a weird smile. Feeling the surrounding environment, he said to Gojo Satoru, many, thank you, I can be able to come out so early. However, the current strength of the body is not too strong. So, you will become part of my body. Gojo Satoru looked at the cursed spirit who rushed over, without worrying at all. He was still thinking about what kind of cursed spirit it was. Fear of life? No, it doesn't look like it. Is it fear of men? Fear of birth, old age, sickness and death? Gojo Satoru was thinking while avoiding its attack. If I can't think of it, I won't attack. This is the fear of growth. Ryuichi's voice came from his ears. Gojo Satoru hammered the palm of his hand, as if he just wanted to understand. Yeah, because people are afraid of the process of growing up, it will absorb so much nutrients and skip a certain age. Am I right? Gojo Satoru supported the ground with one foot and kicked it in the air.
Base. Gojo Satoru's figure disappeared in place, and instantly appeared in the air. You have it. Do you have a name? Boom. The huge impact shattered the ground and rolled down rocks on the high mountains in the center of the park.
Gojo Satoru landed on the ground, and a jet of dark light spurted out of the smoke. He appeared in front of Gojo Satoru for an instant, but was again blocked by the invisible air wall. The light wave didn't end, but it surged forward, like a desperate gambler. Gojo Satoru blocked the light wave with one hand and his sunglasses with the other hand, walking forward with ease. Advertisement slowly moved to the cursed spirit. Your attack can't hit me. Pushing hard, blocked the light wave back into its mouth. The huge energy burst its head again. According to the situation, there should be another. Before he could finish speaking, the cursed spirit in front of him disappeared instantly and flew in the direction of Zenin Ryuichi. The one with sunglasses can't beat it. He was going to take the rest on the side to supplement his nutrition first. You chose the wrong person. Gojo Satoru stood still and didn't understand, smiling at the cursed spirit running towards Ryuichi.
Be my nourishment. I want nourishment. I want. Ryuichi didn't panic when he saw it coming, with his right elbow pressed against the armrest and his chin resting on the back of his hand. A huge and dark coercion emanated from his body, and the tent in the sky almost shattered at this moment.
The body of the cursed spirit that was originally sprinting was shot on the ground in an instant, raising clouds of dust. Lifting its head desperately, it wanted to see the master of this coercion, but now it seemed so extravagant to even move its fingers. But this kind of pressure is full of darkness, greed, and desire. This kind of aura should not radiate from a human being.
It is like a demon crawling out of hell, full of longing for everything in the world. I want to swallow everything I see around. Has become middle-aged.
However, where did you go back to me? Ryuichi looked at the lying cursed spirit with contempt, lifted his right foot, and kicked its huge body back in front of Gojo Satoru. Thanks. Gojo Satoru appeared high in the sky, and an air catch came. A turned and kicked, cursed spirit was instantly kicked to the ground. The dignified superclass cursed spirit, not long after he was born, was played here like a football by the two. What? The super cursed spirit couldn't stand the humiliation and roared again. But the living matter around it has disappeared, and the two people in front of him are helpless. Its originally strong body actually began to shrink slowly at this moment. The figure of Gojo Satoru appeared beside Ryuichi. What do you think will change in his next form? Only silence greeted him, and Gojo Satoru shrugged, boring. Seeking flowers, it didn't take long when it unfolded again. Advertisement. A thin and withered figure appeared in front of the two of them. The two arms were raised to the sides, like a dead tree trunk, as if they would be blown off in the next second. The face that looked like a corpse was full of gullies. The whole body stood there, like a candle in the wind, and would be destroyed at any time. My life, Ku Rong. With the sound of the sound, the originally yellow earth dried up and cracked again. Those creatures that were silent in the earth's crust were also sucked into the air at this moment. I saw Ku Rong's mouth, and strands of light yellow thin lines entered his mouth. Its dry body was gradually propped up, and the gully on its face was slowly disappearing. Hey, without hesitation, Gojo Satoru attacked it again. But, Ku Rong's figure panned 20 meters away the moment the shockwave arrived in front of him. Haha. Thank you for your help, otherwise it may take hundreds of years to wait for me to come out. Ku Rong was like a normal old man at the moment. He was more than 1 meter tall, gray hair, and kind, if he hadn't just experienced battle. It might even be regarded as a passerby who broke in by mistake. Old man, you can't get smaller and smaller, Gojo Satoru teased at it. Hey, is that okay? I only know now, Billowing Chen? Ku Rong shook his hands and immediately made a mark. With it as the center, a huge black ball with a radius of 40 meters encloses 3 people. Ryuichi looked at this field with interest. It's not dark inside, but the sun is shining brightly. There is even the illusion of going to the domain space of the dugong. The wind is sunny and no one disturbs. Isn't this a perfect holiday destination? It's pretty good here. Ha 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 ha. It's more than good, you will be the fertilizer here soon. Human. Regret calling me out. Die. The surrounding flowers and trees are like living creatures at this moment, sweeping towards Gojo Satoru and Ryuichi. Their body surface is covered with superficial curse power, both Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru understand. This kind of thing is untouchable. I think you got it wrong, I mean. You are mine. 2. Chapter 290 Advertisement. Ku Rong felt the voice behind him. A scene of being crushed on the ground outside and immovable came to mind.
Goosebumps surged up quickly. He quickly exchanged his body with the surrounding plants, and his original location became a giant tree in the sky.
Withered Wrong's figure appeared 10 meters away, a fluke inevitably rose in his heart. But the next moment, "Are you looking for me?" Ryuichi appeared behind Kurong, with his left hand and two fingers together. The mysterious and profound aura appeared on him, and the coercion of greed and desire burst from him again. "Dueling dispatches, General," Ryuichi snorted softly. His hands suddenly folded, and Kurong's body was covered with mysterious black stripes. Countless black chains appeared on the cursed spirit's body, with mysterious runes quietly retreating. After half a moment, "There are 2 more hammocks in the woods."
Ryuichi lay on top of the 547, surrounded by living matter.
His eyes gradually blurred. "There are countless pictures in my eyes, like revolving lanterns. These figures are either male or female, or clear or rich. From the babies croaking to the ground, to being a touch of Lois, all appeared before his eyes." After a long time, the picture dissipated. In less than 10 minutes, he felt the desire, fear, dependence, and confusion of countless people for growth. From then on, he also knew that this cursed spirit named Kurong had a final form. "There is death and life toward death. It's pretty good here, but..." Gojo Satoru feels the fresh air in the woods and the animals and plants around them that are composed of pure vitality. "If it's just an ordinary warlock entering here, I'm afraid I can't help but want to stay permanently. However, under this beautiful scene, there is another, dark and depressing scene like hell. It's like a computer virus, following those blue eyes, into his brain. Forget it, this place is not for me. Well, it's been so long, I should go too." Gojo Satoru stood up and looked at Ryuichi. It seemed that there was only this. That kind of dark scenery would not enter his mind. Snapped. Advertisement. Ryuichi reached out his hand and snapped his fingers crisply. The surrounding space floated slightly, like ripples on the surface of the river, and after a short while, the entire area disappeared. The two reappeared in the park. Somewhere in the Pansion walkway, there were 2 eyes, staring at the 2 leaving figures. Zhang Taiyang's eyes were full of shock. "Did you see the sun? If it wasn't me just now, you would have died long ago."
"Then what should I do now? Take me away, I will give you strength so that you will not be bullied again."
A trace of desire arises in the eyes of Zhang Sun, which is the desire for status and identity. But quickly became discouraged. "I am just a little transparent, even if I have the ability, no one will like me. This idea has been lingering in my mind." The little cursed spirit beside him looked at his weak state with a friendly smile on his face. "I can help you. You want you to listen to me, and I promise you will become the most popular person in school." When Zhang Sun heard this, countless rays of light burst into his eyes. "Really? Can teachers and classmates really like me so that my parents don't hate me? Really, now that the account has disappeared, let's leave here quickly. It can also teach you how to use the abilities in your body." Zhang Sun looked over his head and found that the gray barrier had disappeared. The blue sky appeared before his eyes again. Zhang Taiyang's face exudes a happy smile, as warm as the sun today. He couldn't see these things at all before he came in. The next battle was also because the villain touched him twice before he could see it. Is this the world of Jujutsu? Let's leave here first. The man in black outside the park is doing finishing work at this time. The crowd watched as the men in black pulled the cordon away and scrambled into the park. The scenery inside surprised them. Is this just a test explosion? This is simply a KB attack. FK. Is there a war here? Look, the land there has been lifted up. Are they studying bombs here? Just when everyone was surprised by the changes in the park. A teenager in school uniform, carrying a school bag, quickly fled in the opposite direction. Advertisement. At this moment, he is facing the sunset, his eyes are full of hope for a better life. In the remote countryside, a farmer is watering its land. There were a few children chasing 2 puppies by the field, and the laughter spread throughout the country. An elderly man was sitting at home, reading the newspaper leisurely, and from time to time he picked up the pipe beside him and took 2 mouthfuls of his oil. Suddenly, as if feeling something in his heart, a trace of disgust appeared on the original leisurely face. "Put the things in your hands aside," frowning. "I can smell the stench on your body, dirty. Didn't you tell me not to come to me?" A black shadow slowly rose from the ground around him, and a pungent smell of chemical medicine instantly swayed into the air. Floating towards the distance and smelling it makes people feel dizzy and vomit. But the people here seem to have no influence, they are still working hard, laughing and playing. "I'm here to tell you one thing. Kurong failed to recover this time." The black shadow asked the old man's expression in vain, using that ugly and hoarse voice to say the purpose of his trip. "Hey. So what?" The old man is very disdainful of this matter. In this era, Jujutsu has 2 ceiling-level masters. Their super-imaginary cursed spirit can only survive in a cautious group. If you die, you die. The big deal is to wait for a few hundred years to resurrect. By that time, maybe the world has been ruled by cursed spirit. I can't wait for the next time, it has been absorbed by a Jujutsu master, and it won't appear anymore. Bang. The old man's palm suddenly hit the ground, and the huge force shook the entire space back and forth. What's the matter? Did he provoke those old monsters? It's more terrible than that. I was caught by Zenin Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru. When the old man heard the words, a smile appeared on his surprised face, and it was getting bigger unscrupulously. Puff. Ha 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 ha. This old guy is lucky. Even if he died, it's worth it. Sombra didn't make much comment, and his voice became a little deep. The Lord is angry. With a simple sentence, the scared old man got up instantly, his hair exploded, and the invisible force instantly crushed the surrounding scenery into a ball. The entire space is heated like an oil painting, generally dissolving and sliding from top to bottom. Countless colors converge on the ground and eventually disappear into the invisible. The flower board that had been concealed was presented in front of the black shadow. The stench that seemed to be suppressed for a long time surged instantly, filling the entire space. Chapter 291 Advertisement. The black shadow glanced at the surrounding environment, although he couldn't see its expression. But I can vaguely feel its comfort. Obviously, it prefers the current environment. Yingfeng, I thought you really found a place to provide for the elderly. This old man is named Yingfeng, born out of human aversion to the real world. From the day of birth, he looks like an old man. There is a natural yearning for this idyllic environment. I hate human beings and big cities that are full of the dark side of humanity. The black shadow slowly wriggled to Yingfeng's side, and sat side by side on the pitch-black charred stone. My lord, do you have any instructions? Yingfeng frowned and looked at the dark figure close by, leaning against the side. He picked up the pipe on the stone and forced himself to calm down. There were wailing sounds from the pipe, and every puff, those howling sounds were reduced a little. After 2 puffs, there was no sound in the pipe. Sombra didn't rush to reply, but quietly waited for him to finish, calming him down. My lord didn't say anything. He just said let us wait for the notice and encircle Zenin Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru together. Click. Yingfeng's body tightened, the pipe in his hand snapped, and was instantly crushed to ashes by his fingers. Forcibly calmed down his emotions, and asked in a trembling voice. My lord, do this. Have you ever thought about our life and death? The shadows were silent. These things were obviously not what they thought. Yingfeng couldn't help feeling angry when he saw the reaction of Sombra. It's okay if you don't find yourself, as long as you come to find it is such a life-threatening thing. Without any hesitation, his fist was wrapped in this terrifying coercion and whizzed towards the shadow. The lingering fist wind instantly raised the field behind it to the ground. You know, such an attack can do no harm to me. The black shadow's voice like rust in his throat appeared again. The moment the fist touched its body, it spread out instantly, avoiding the damage. Yingfeng let out a cold snort and withdrew his fist. But the tightly held Shuangchen did not loosen, and even because of too much force, both arms were trembling slightly. Foul, do you know what this order means? It means that we have to face 2 invincibles at the same time. We have no chance of winning. Advertisement. The black shadow can't see his expression, but he doesn't seem to feel much about this matter. There seems to be some dissatisfaction with Feng's behavior. Yingfeng, you have been at ease for too long. You have forgotten our mission. My purpose this time has been achieved. As for how to think about it, that's your business. What the adult arranges must have his purpose, we just need to do it. It seemed to be an ultimatum. After speaking, the shadow turned into a pool of black water and flowed down the land. Yingfeng looked at the direction where the black shadow disappeared, and deep in those dim eyes, there was a trace of fear carved into his soul. King of Curses? Fuso, in the house of everything in Tokyo. Jujutsu teacher assessment. Ryuichi looked helplessly at Gojo Satoru in front of him, repeating what he had just said. Yes, you refused the qualification to raise the matter. Are you not going to let your subordinates do a rating? After listening to Ryuichi, he realized that it was this matter, so he didn't care about it anymore. Just tell him directly. Why do you talk to me? Of course I want you to be a judge with me. Gojo Satoru seems to have seen the two in the surveillance room, watching the scene of Nanami Kento's extermination of Curse. A smile was paid on the handsome face. Don't go. Gojo Satoru's smile froze on his face, and he looked at Ryuichi in surprise. So leisurely. Serious things, don't you go? Aren't you afraid that I won't give it? Zenin Ryuichi chuckled when he heard the words, and there was a trace of joking in his bright eyes. Do you know? Or in other words, do you dare? Suddenly, there seemed to be a huge phantom behind Zenin Ryuichi, occupying half of the room instantly, with a strong pressure on his body, pressing towards Gojo Satoru. It felt like I wanted to swallow everything up here. Maybe it will? Gojo Satoru didn't let it go. The blue aura filled his whole body, resisting the black shadow in the air, and it could still be vaguely heard its angry roar. 2 breaths of horror swallowed the whole room. The table in front of him, the freezer behind him, and the flying paper all turned into dust at this moment. The cursed spirit, who had been hiding in the corner for refrigeration, was annihilated at this moment. Advertisement, boss, do you need me to chop this blind man? Fuishir squatted at the window, deep in his arrogant and unruly eyes. The concealer was tyrannical. With the right hand backward, the muscles on the body flowed slightly under the sunlight. I turned a blind eye to the horror in the room. Even under this kind of breath, he even overwhelmed his sense of existence to the lowest level. This is the habit of the king of killers. It seems that the person in front of you is not Jujutsu's invincible Gojo Satoru, but just an ordinary person, even. It's an ant. When Gojo Satoru heard the question, he took off his sunglasses, and his blue eyes looked at Fuiisher who was sitting on the window. It looks like a leopard patiently waiting for its prey. Forget it, what's your purpose, let's be honest. Those two horrible breaths dissipated in an instant, and only the chair Ryuichi was sitting on was left in the entire room. Gojo Satoru pushed his sunglasses up, spreading his hands, and said helplessly, "Nothing can lie to you. I received the above notice. If I accept this assignment, after graduation, I can be a teacher in the school. Also, after the task is over, I will be able to represent the Gojo family and enter the high-level meeting to intervene in their decision-making." Speaking of this, Gojo Satoru stood there blankly, with a little disgust in his bright eyes. Jujutsu executives, there should be a cleanup. Ryuichi glanced at him when he heard the words, and asked, "Aren't you my employee?" When Gojo Satoru heard the words, he smiled lightly. For someone as powerful as me, it should be okay to have two identities, right? Time. 7 days later, I will pick you up at that time. After Gojo Satoru said these words, he left the room instantly, wanting to share this joy immediately. "Boss, you have a big loss." Fuiisher slowly got up, came to Ryuichi, and pointed to the furnishings in the room. The meaning is very clear, he should pay for these things. He can't run away with this money. Boom, there was a muffled sound. Fuiisher threw the sack behind him on the clearing, and lifted up patches of dust. As if there were 1,000 caddies in it. After opening it, there were actually some blood-red ore inside. Under the sun's rays, a little colorful halo appeared unexpectedly. Chapter 292 Advertisement. Fuiisher took the stone in his hand. Through the faint halo, I looked at Zenin Ryuichi. These minerals are good things. Using them to make spectacle lenses can see through all illusions. Ryuichi felt the energy emanating from the ore, with the warmth of the sun and the salty wetness of the sea. Putting the evidence of your laziness directly in front of the boss, I have to say that your courage is commendable. This month's salary is gone. Fuiisher was taken aback when he heard the words, and he didn't even notice that the stone in his hand fell to the ground. "You. No wonder you were the big boss." Afterwards, the stones in the sack lined up in front of Ryuichi as if they had received some kind of call. "What are you looking for these things for?" Fuiisher stared at everything that happened in front of him, feeling that the things he brought back were a bit unsightly. Recently, he was looking for dry stone everywhere, without any clues. There is no record of such a thing even in the intelligence network. He followed the habit described by Yoshida River and began to search in the nearby sea. Just this morning, he felt a familiar spell on an unknown island. He would never forget the disgusting curse power like a mouse. Sure enough, he discovered that the strong man who was trading at the time was wielding a hammer and digging for these ore. After solving all the labors, he found that this kind of ore does not accept any spell power injection and can only be digged by pure physical fitness. Explosive cannot be used because it is too brittle. If it is fried to powder, basically you can only try to make glasses. So seeing that Zenin Ryuichi can easily make these stones line up in front of him like a group of soldiers under inspection. It feels like a tool man in an instant. I met a few mice a while ago, thinking about finding this kind of mineral to make a pair of glasses, so that I can catch them. Today I was lucky. I not only trampled on a group of mice, but also found these ore back. I will meet the other two later, so there is a countermeasure. It turned out that the group of people belonged to the Juqing people of Jiangtu, and they took the ore as their own, and they destroyed all the information about this ore in the world. Even the scientific researcher who showed the stone at the beginning was pitted by Yoshidahe. As soon as the scientific research exchange meeting ended, the man was secretly arrested, and now he has become a scientific researcher of Juqing's family. After all, if you know that you are in the Jujutsu circle, you know the attitude of those characters. If you don't cooperate, you will die, so now I don't know the information of this kind of thing from anywhere. Advertisement. Ryuichi smiled faintly when he heard this, and put the ore back into the sack again. He didn't ask what the identities of the mice were, and why didn't they look for him for glasses. After all, Fuiisher has his own arrogance, and if he intervenes to help, it will hurt the relationship between the two. Well, what should I do? Ryuichi directly issued the eviction order, and Fuiisher didn't talk nonsense. He carried the sack and ran out the window again. Mouse, that's really annoying. When the sound came out, in the sewer outside the window, a group of sewage seemed to have received a fright, and quickly slipped through the pipe. In the afternoon, Jiangtuju Mansion. Iharu Nikado sat in the room, listening to the news from his subordinates. The expression on his face became more and more ugly. Dog stuff. Dog stuff. Snapped. With a loud noise, the table in front of him was snapped off. But this did not ease his anger. Instead, there is an upward trend. Suddenly, two Ning Ruo Frost, Wen Yu like little hands were placed on his shoulders. The coolness that seemed cold and not cold, followed the two jade hands, through the shoulders, passed into the body, spread to the limbs and hundreds of skeletons, and finally swam back to the brain. Just let Juharu Jiangtu calm down. Master, don't be angry, we already have enough free stone to use, and there is no need to continue mining. Yes, continuing to raise those people will increase our costs. Hearing the words coming from behind, Iharu Nikado showed a thoughtful expression on his face. Yes, there is almost no use to them other than punishment. Just give up in this case. The anger is hard to quench, the meaning is hard to calm. However, as the head of the family, he cannot rely on his own will to affect the whole family. I'll report this news to see how it will be arranged. Came to the backyard of the mansion again, although it was already autumn. But the backyard is still full of green trees and flowers blooming, as if the season is of no use here. Juharu Nikado sat down at the door of the room again. Advertisement reported what happened on the dry stone mine. Look, what should we do next? It doesn't matter, the ones I brought back are enough. Now I just need to make things according to my recipe. Diaresis try not to go out recently to avoid causing trouble. Iharu Nikado was instructed to think of future plans. There was a hint of heat in his eyes. Gojo Satoru and Zenin Ryuichi, you will die in a week. And those broken old men, dry your butts and wait. From now on, the Jujutsu world will be my home. With the sound of footsteps away. Inside that door, in the huge room, there are many bookshelves. From parenting education, to ideology and philosophy, there are even some rare treasures. A blue figure put down the reading in his hand. His body was full of sarcomas like an exposed brain, and he was slowly creeping at this moment. It seems to be absorbing the text in this book. After a while, everything returned to peace. My lord, things have almost been arranged and will be executed in a week. I saw a pool of sewage gushing out of the ground over there, and after a short while, it piled up into a dark shadow. The pungent stench instantly filled Li Ma Jiao, a room. But the blue figure, seeing such a situation, began to convulse at the same time with the pile of brain-like sarcomas on his body. A lot of mucus flows along the tube above the sarcoma to the top of the head, causing its head to expand at this moment, as if it will explode in the next second, and even the brain fluid flowing inside can be seen. Yu Shui, you did a good job. After this incident, I will recommend you to an adult. If it goes well, you will become one of us and let the world re-enter the era ruled by cursed spirit. After speaking these words, the dirt disappeared in the house. If it's not that the smell hasn't dissipated, you might even feel that what has just happened is just a hallucination. Yu Shui greedily smelled the stench in the air. It has been waiting for this moment for too long. It's finally coming out. As long as the information is correct, there will never be any problems with my judgment. Chapter 293 Advertisement late at night, on a small island in the sea. The waves blown by the sea breeze slapped on the beach, each time more intense than the last time. As if the next second, the island will be beaten and disappeared by the waves. An old castle hides in the depths of the island. From a distance, it seems to be directly moved from a fairy tale. Under the moonlight, it looks extraordinarily white, and it looks so noble and sacred. However, as the eyes moved, under the noble package, it was indeed the hell that made the scalp numb. The white appearance is indeed made of piles of white bones. The inside of the castle was extremely dim, and all the light was blocked outside. Soul, how is the matter going? The voice was a little hoarse, as if countless evil spirits were repeating his words. When it sounds to people, I can't help but do what he says, as if he was born to be the king of this space. With the sound, the chandelier at the top of the castle suddenly lit up. In the darkness, a mysterious blue light suddenly appeared. Light up everything around instantly. As the faint blue lightened, it seemed to be covered with a layer of fine yarn. Vaguely, countless painful faces kept pouring out. It seems that the air here is composed of these evil spirits. Yingfang has already notified it. Although I am very dissatisfied, I didn't dare to resist. Yu Shui has basically arranged it, and the necessary things are being produced, and it will not take long to reach the quantity we need. Only, speaking of this, Po still has doubts about the arrangement, but he dare not speak. Say, it's just that I don't think it makes any sense to do so. We can take it slowly. Humans can't live that long. The voice fell, and the castle fell into silence. Don't wait, who knows if there will be more powerful characters than these two in the future. When Dee heard this, he also understood the reason. I was afraid of the geniuses of the Gojo family and Zenin family before. As a result, when the two died, arrangements had not yet begun. Now there is a stronger presence than those two. Who knows if these two people die, the degree of tyranny will be more terrifying. Thinking of this, I was also surprised. This adult also had a little fear for these two young people. Otherwise, I would never say such a thing. Advertisement. Seems to see through the dirty thoughts, this adult didn't hide it at all. Fan and Yada have been wiped out. If it is delayed, Wang's appearance will be postponed indefinitely. Dirt's eyes were full of shock. Those two adults are actually dead? That is the same existence as the adult in front of you. The dirty black body shook slightly at this moment and even withdrew from this action. Don't tremble. Now there is no difference between showing fear and dying. Remember not to make any mistakes in these things, go on. The dirty body bowed and retreated toward the gate. With the defilement gone, the castle returned to the darkness again. Oh. Countless ghosts ooze from the walls of the ancient castle, accompanied by their miserable cry, as if the figure on the throne is telling their unwillingness. Suddenly, a big mouth appeared on the rear wall, with saliva constantly being left behind. Struggling to breathe, it turned into a hurricane, swallowing everything around. In a short while, the miserable screams around disappeared instantly. Outside the castle, standing on the beach, looking at the vast and endless sea, Yi suddenly had an urge to escape from here. Wanlu's thoughts are always turned into a sigh. Hey. The thick autumn mood has changed the rest of summer. Pedestrians on the street also gradually put on autumn clothes. Fuhesher obtained the illusion-breaking eyes he needed from the laboratory, and left the remaining ore to Yaya Dahe for his research. Nanami Kento also completed the upgrade process under the leadership of Gojo Satoru. Only left under supervision, complete the task of destroying 3 second-level cursed spirits. Nanami Kento was looking for something in an abandoned hospital. But Ryuichi is now shopping with Gojo Satoru in a remote mall. Ryuichi felt it, and looked around with those moon-white eyes. No problem was found. Gojo Satoru saw Ryuichi's appearance and couldn't help but chuckle. Are you worried about your employees? If you let him know, maybe you can see a smile on that poker face. Advertisement. Gojo Satoru has known Nanami Kento until now. He had never seen any expression on his face other than indifference. As if born with a poker face, Ryuichi glanced at him and said faintly, I just think you are a troublemaker. With you, nothing good will happen. 6 Immortal Thief Treasury gives the entire mall a foreboding ability that is almost the same as that of a prophet. No, the whole area gave him a different feeling. It's like being stared at by a group of hungry rats, ready to take a piece of meat without paying attention. You are more attracted to those big troubles than me, aren't you? Gojo Satoru doesn't take it easy every time the trouble is related to Zenin Ryuichi. He is only the one implicated, but at this point, Gojo Satoru's eyes hidden under the sunglasses scanned the surroundings. The brow furrowed, although there was no difference. But there is always a feeling of being trapped in your heart. Are you really in trouble? Eyes can't help giving birth to Ryuichi next to him. This guy's perception ability is really getting more and more terrifying. Without his reminder, I might not have noticed these subtle differences. Ryuichi saw his gaze, and the moon-white eyes seemed to see through his heart. Felt it? Well, although I don't know what it is, let's leave here first. Ryuichi found that Gojo Satoru seemed to be different. It's not a good thing to start worrying about the bugs around. Rumble. Rumble. Just as the two were about to leave, a pair of huge fists were like meteorites from the sky, wrapped in burning flames and slammed on the heads of Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru. As the fists approached, Gojo Satoru and Ryuichi disappeared instantly. The position where the two were standing was instantly smashed into a huge pit with their fists. Those rubble accompanied by scattered flames instantly made the whole shopping mall chaotic. The natural disaster is coming. The end of the world is really coming. All this is doomed. We're doomed to be cleaned. You gotta FK me. Everyday TM disgusts you kind of cliches that promote doomsday. Mom, come and save me. Don't run in a hurry. Watch out for pedestrians ahead. Don't trample on. Chapter 294 Advertisement. The figures of Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru appeared on the side. Looking at this scene, one was full of peace, while the other was a little worried. Let's go, get out of here first. Then, before he finished speaking, Gojo Satoru's figure disappeared before Ryuichi's eyes. Somewhat interesting. The people who targeted them this time are obviously well prepared. This is to use something to directly pull Gojo Satoru elsewhere. Is this going to be targeted separately? At this moment, an old man slowly rose from the ground, and as he appeared, the surrounding space seemed to be frozen. There was no sound. The old face was wrinkled into a ball, like a blooming flesh-colored chrysanthemum, with only the muddy pupils exposed, staring at the man in front of him. Snapped. A clear finger snap is particularly loud in this space. A hanging chair made of wisteria appeared behind him, and Ryuichi sat down lightly. He raised Erlang's legs and pressed his chin against his right hand freely, and his narrow eyes looked at the cursed spirit in front of him. Seems to be telling him, Joker, start your performance. This emotion was captured by Feng and instantly ignited his already unstable mood. He was originally the cursed spirit produced by people's aversion to real life. He hung up the hatred in his heart when he came to the city with Mew. I just have been suppressed by the mission, and now I see Zenin Ryuichi's playful expression. Can no longer suppress the anger in my heart. Feng stared at the enemy in front of him with his muddy eyes, his eyes full of caution. This human being is dangerous. As the super cursed spirit's survival instinct, he is madly signaling him at this moment. However, the current situation does not allow any possibility of retreat. Feng straightened his body, and a strange breath came out from his body. Like a dream, there will be no hatred after contact, but there will be a feeling of yearning. As the breath spread, everyone who was still crying gradually forgot the disaster before them. Happy smiles appeared one after another. Ryuichi watched what happened, with a hint of interest in his eyes. This cursed spirit uses its own power to imprint the world it has transformed into the minds of others. Advertisement let these people sink into that fantasy world, so as to control their life and death from the spiritual level. Zenin Ryuichi, now I want to make a deal with you. At the same time, Gojo Satoru, who was pulled into the underground passage, was observing the surrounding environment. This is a subway platform, and there is an endless stream of vehicles and pedestrians. It seems that they are too far from the ground, and these people have no response to what happened above. Gojo Satoru suddenly turned his eyes and was right in the center of the subway station. There was a stream of black liquid, suddenly, rising like a fountain lacking water. With its appearance, a stench instantly diffused in this subway station. It smells so bad. Who fart? Ouch. Nonsense. Who pulled the shit into my pants pocket? Hurry up and get out of here. Don't be disgusting here, nasty. This is biogas. Who brought the biogas digester with him? It's the first time I have seen you who are stinky. I vomit. Not long after, those liquids formed a black shadow and stood in the crowd. The people standing near it were fainted by the strong smell one after another. Beep. A subway came again, and the pedestrians who were vomiting in the subway station turned their heads and got on the train. It's as if there is some kind of biochemical weapon in the subway station, which is daunting.
The people who were going to get off the train saw the scenery of the subway station, but were too scared to stop, so they only asked the subway to leave the station quickly.
Even so, those who stood at the door were turned white by the smell of the station, and foamed at the mouth. Gojo Satoru pinched his nose and looked at the black figure in front of him with an unhappy expression. You guy is so stinky, can't you take a bath and come again? I am the cursed spirit accumulated by human beings' negative emotions towards pollution. These smells are like my labels. As long as I appear, these smells surround me like soldiers following the king. This feeling is so cool, isn't it? The voice of the black shadow is sometimes clear and sometimes vague, as if speaking with water in it. It sounds uncomfortable. Gojo Satoru frowned when he heard these words, and his blue eyes were full of disgust.
He didn't even want to touch this cursed spirit. Gojo Satoru glanced at the fallen passers-by around him.
Cannot do it. There are too many people here. Neither the field nor jujutsu can be used. Advertisement seeking flowers physical surgery? Gojo Satoru turned his eyes to the dark shadow again. Looking at its oily body, there was still some excrement in the flowing liquid.
A chill hits his forehead from the soles of his feet. Up and down, every inch of skin, every cell, are refusing to fight with this guy.
The current situation is a bit difficult to handle. Outside the mall, a group of people in black quickly surrounded the mall. A cordon skillfully surrounded the mall. The tent that shielded the breath and vision was rapidly unfolding at this moment. Everything is so orderly, but weirdness is revealed everywhere. A group of people wearing glasses and light red cloaks passed through the people in black in the name of saving people, stepped across the boundary line, and smoothly entered the interior of the mall. 0. Today, our goal is to eliminate Zenin Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru. We are divided into 2 ways and implemented according to the original plan. There must be no mistakes, and we will be conceded. Although they are not an organization, the purpose of gathering here at this moment is indeed the same. Destroy Gojo Satoru and Zenin Ryuichi, 2 guys who influence the balance of the world. For this they have prepared a lot of preparations. Several people confirmed their eyes with each other, and walked towards their positions respectively. Do these things have any effect? We are not going to die? It's useful, I tried it. I also killed a 2nd level Jujutsu master who had provoked me before. This thing is really amazing. Hey. Jujutsu circles say that our curse teacher has destroyed humanity, and now it seems that those people are not too much to let go. They have these things, wouldn't it be miserable for them to use them to me and us in the future? Relax, after this battle, these things can only appear in our hands. These people chatted and came to the top of the mall. I found that the face was very quiet, unlike being attacked. I looked at it and found that the faces of everyone below revealed a touch of happiness. With this weird sobriety, the backs of a few people were cold. What the hell did those bastards in the Jujutsu world invite? Suddenly, a feeling of being peeped arose in the hearts of several people. Looking along the way, he found that Zenin Ryuichi was holding red wine in his hand, and his narrow and bright eyes revealed imperial mockery. Are you ready to please me? 2. Chapter 295 Advertisement? The other 4-person team, when they reached the subway entrance, began to turn on the spray device behind them. Sprinkle all the medicines inside to melt them into the air. It's a waste to start spraying so early, right? What do you know? Don't spray now. When we meet, do we still have a chance? Stop talking, hurry up and work. After entering the subway entrance, remember to wear your mask. If you faint, don't expect anyone here to save you. While talking, several people have already come to the subway exit. Damn it, what's the situation? Really disgusting. The 4 of them looked at each other and subconsciously tightened the masks on their faces. I saw that the ground was full of vomiting green and yellow things, and some people even vomited while walking, and finally fell on top, their bodies full of filth. A few others have collapsed to the ground, foaming at their mouths, and are in a state of half their lives. The weird state here caused the 4 of them to see a physiological reaction. Damn, what is that dark shadow? It's so powerful. Oh, I am now. Look here, ouch. Don't vomit, TM. I want to vomit as soon as you vomit. Get out of the way. No way. No way. Read on. I might vomit too. Don't talk nonsense, hurry up and drop the thing. Our task will be half done. The four of them did not dare to delay, and directly took out a tube of liquid similar to a biochemical virus from their arms. The liquid inside is like a mischievous firefly, floating around in the tube. From time to time, it will stick to the edge of the pipe wall, as if wanting to see the outside world. Snapped. The sound of broken glass suddenly sounded. There were 4 broken glass tubes on the ground, but there were no traces of liquid flowing out of the ground.
Those liquids directly vaporize as soon as they come into contact with the air.
Get into the surrounding air, and wrap up the entire subway station. The 4 of them wrapped their clothes tightly, looked at Gojo Satoru in front, and couldn't help laughing. Gojo kid, I didn't expect you to have today too. It's uncomfortable if you can't use jujutsu. Don't worry, it won't be so uncomfortable in a while, because you are going to die soon. To blame, you are too strong. Your existence has affected the balance of this world. Gojo Satoru's handsome face showed a trace of dignity, his brow furrowed, and his blue eyes reflected the surrounding environment. It's the feeling just now, the air is full of pink particles, which are of no use to ordinary people.
Advertisement. But you can ignore his, no lower limit jujutsu, and attach directly to him.
Gojo Satoru's eyes moved slightly, and he felt the magic power in his body. The whole soul seemed to be grasped by an invisible big hand. As long as the power of the spell was operated, this hand would be clenched for 1 point. Until the body can no longer run a trace of curse power. The corners of Gojo Satoru's mouth curled up, calmly took off the sunglasses on the bridge of his nose, revealing the blue eyes of the sky, and said with a chuckle. Do you think this can kill me? Gojo Satoru looked at the culprit of all this now. In between, it stood there blankly, seemingly without any intention of making a move. What is this guy waiting for? Beep. A subway drove up again, and smiles appeared on the faces of the 4 people at this moment. All they have to do is to get Gojo Satoru to throw the rat. The more ordinary people there are, the more Gojo Satoru can't let go of fighting. This is also the reason why no one died even though the people here were lying on the ground. These people are their hostages. Gojo Satoru frowned as he looked at their expressions, and understood their plan at this moment. Since jujutsu can't be used, then use physique to squeeze you. A kick. The whole body is like a cannonball out of the chamber, and it goes straight to the 4 people. The 4 of them saw Gojo Satoru's movements and did not dare to enlighten them. Flame maneuver Langyun. Suddenly, one of them quickly closed the seal, and with the sound of the sound, 3 wolf shadows composed of flames rushed towards Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru paused and dodged to the right. Ouch. Gojo Satoru felt the ups and downs under his feet and found himself standing on a person's back. Vomit was also stained on the shoes at this moment.
The abusive expression on his face gradually disappeared, his chin lifted, and a turbulent and violent aura instantly sprayed towards the surroundings.
The madness that belongs exclusively to Gojo Satoru is here again. You rats, are you ready for death? At the same time, in the assessment monitoring room. Toot toot. Yaga Masamichi looked at the phone in his hand with shock. Someone besieged Gojo Satoru and Zenin Ryuichi? How can't you think about it to mess with these 2 guys? But to be safe, let's report to the executives of Jujutsu. Toot toot. Advertisement toot toot. I made several calls in a row, but none of them could be reached. Grass. Who can tell me what I posted? Could that group of old guys also participate in it? You want to die, don't TM inflict us on our college. Throwing down the phone heavily, the parts inside are instantly exposed. Even if he is a fool, he now understands that the situation is not right. This is obviously not going to support the 2 of them. No, even if I am alone, I have to go. This is the attitude of their Jujutsu high school, you can't be affected by Chiyu. Taking some of the dolls made around him, he glanced at the panda that was playing. Why, forget it, that's enough. Within half an hour, the figure of Yaga Masamichi appeared outside the mall. Look at the account that surrounds the mall. The eyes hidden under the sunglasses showed a dignified look. I am an in-service teacher at Jujutsu High School, Yaga Masamichi, who has been notified by the upper management to come and support. After saying this, Yaga Masamichi was ready to go in. Suddenly, both arms blocked in front of him. Sorry, we received a notice that it is a super cursed spirit with extraordinary abilities. In order to avoid unnecessary casualties, Jujutsu is not allowed to enter without any protective measures. Yep, protective measures? Yaga Masamichi looked at the speaker in shock. As if I didn't hear it clearly, did you put gas bombs inside to snipe these 2 men? Is this completely disregarding the life and death of ordinary people? He gritted his teeth and looked towards the underground passage on one side. You can't enter there either. The inside is already occupied by unknown gas. If the Jujutsu master enters, he will not be able to use the magic power. Grass TM. This is an important passage leading to the subway station, and those people are so frantic. Without listening to the persuasion of these people, he dashed towards the underground passage. 4 people in black suddenly appeared in front of them, just like the 4 King Kong, guarding the entrance of the passage. I want to go in. Who stopped and died? Chapter 296. Advertisement. The 4 people who were blocking were actually taken aback by Yaga Masamichi's, but they were still blocking the front. A few of you, if you have to be like this, then please. Rumble. Rumble. Suddenly, the ground vibrated violently, and the ground seemed to bulge upward at this moment, and cracks like a spiderweb appeared. The onlookers around were instantly knocked to the ground, seeing the cracks on the ground fleeing backwards. Fearing that the ground would collapse, put yourself in. Suddenly, a huge heat wave gushes outward along the underground passage. The 4 men in black could not dodge, and were directly knocked to the ground by the heat wave. The surrounding green belt is directly blown yellow. A foul odor spewed out with this airflow, instantly dispersing in the air.
The few people in black who were closest to the tunnel's mouth suddenly foamed at their mouths and fell to the ground.
Fortunately, a breeze blew by, instantly blowing the surrounding smell away and disappearing into the air. Yaga Masamichi was far away and was not affected. He looked at the situation in shock. If Zenin Ryuichi did this, it's okay if it's Gojo Satoru, 23. Thinking of this, he glanced at the man in black on the ground in disgust, not paying much attention to it. Rushed directly in. Gojo, you must exercise restraint. ...
Inside the mall, Zenin Ryuichi felt the violent vibrations under his feet.
A trace of clarity flashed through the narrow eyes.
The battle on Gojo Satoru's side is almost over. Snapped.
The sound of broken glass came from all around. Zenin Ryuichi felt the strangeness in the air, and the corners of his mouth curled up. You like to defeat me with this thing? Ying Feng frowned as he looked at the man who seemed unaffected. Shouldn't it? How is this going? When I got this kind of thing, I asked Jujutsu teacher to try it out. As long as it hits, the magic power in the body will be blocked. And judging from the explosion just now, Gojo Satoru should have been slapped.
How else could there be such a big movement? This guy.
At this time, the 4 figures fell from the sky. Advertisement surrounded Ryuichi. Haha, Zenin Ryuichi. I didn't expect you to have today too. Today, we are fighting for an ideal world. Zenin Ryuichi, your death is not meaningless. Is the curse power no longer available? Ha ha ha. Today is your death date. Gia. Tell you. Whoever kills you, Curse Master Wen Yuan Ryota is also.
Several people swiftly kill in the middle, they are now full of beautiful fantasies after success.
Die. Ryuichi. As long as you die, our curse division will be able to regain the public's vision. Snapped. Ryuichi stretched out his palm and touched his middle finger lightly, and a crisp snapping sound instantly spread into the ears of the 4 people. A humanoid cursed spirit that looked like an old man slowly got angry from the ground, and an invisible oppression instantly filled the audience. The 4 of them stood in place, frightened by this fact. You. How can you still use the magic power? This is impossible. Zenin Ryuichi. I warn you, don't move, otherwise, everyone here will die. Yingfeng. You do it soon, we are dead, you can't run away. Under this pressure, several people turned their heads hard and looked at Yingfeng in the distance. I saw that his eyes were dull, almost unable to control the power in his body. The 4 of them were suddenly terrified. Do these 2 old guys know each other? Kurong. Why are you here? You are not. Before the words fell, the dirty words came to mind again. It was absorbed by a jujutsu teacher. Is that jujutsu master the man in front of you? Don't mess around. As long as Kurong uses his abilities, none of the people here will survive. Yingfeng can only use these ordinary people as threats. The purpose of it in the dirty come here is also to control all ordinary people present, so as to force them not to dare to take action easily. But obviously, they miscalculated. Oh, how do you think I care about them? This sentence cracked in the ears of the 4 like thunder. We miscalculated. The man in front of him didn't even estimate the lives of these people. The damn jujutsu masters don't want to besiege these 2 people, but want to destroy them. Yingfeng. You. My life. Kurong. Before he could finish speaking, a powerful voice interrupted his words. With the sound of the sound, Kurong opened his arms. It seems to be waiting for his slave to make offerings for himself. Advertisement sudden. Inside the mall, treacherous winds are everywhere. With the momentum of the sky, straight into the sky. Boom. Hit directly on the account above, causing the entire mall to roar violently. As the sly wind blows, wherever it goes, all living substances are sucked away. Those on the ground who were still giggling at this moment finally live in fantasy forever. The 4 besieged people, with wide-eyed eyes and trembling all over, wanted to turn around and escape, but their bodies did not listen to them at the moment. I can only watch my body start to shrink. Hair, skin, blood, and bones are slowly changing, and the nutrients in them flow into the eye of the wind following the hurricane. Not long after, there were 4 more corpses on the ground. Ying Feng looked around with an ugly face, and subconsciously took out his pipe from his pocket. When I reached out to touch the tobacco, I found that the tobacco had been inhaled into Kurong's body following the treacherous wind. The wrinkles on the face are deeper. Since knowing that this man has no pity for human life, there is no need to continue wasting time with him. Not long after, Kurong's wrinkled face gradually became full and smooth. In the entire mall, except for the man in front of it, there is no creature that can breathe. Look at what he is going to do. Ryuichi now has this kind of confidence. Since it is troublesome and can be solved once, don't have a second time. The taste of being calculated is still quite disgusting. Feng looked at the two figures in front of him, and under those old eyes, his eyes kept turning. No solution anymore. Only let the adults come out to solve it, if you were lucky.
Take out a scroll directly from his pocket, without the slightest nonsense.
The face suddenly opened to himself. A thick black light burst out instantly. They seemed to be alive, surrounding Yingfeng's arms and drilling towards its chest. "Ah, your lord. Please, come here." As the voice fell, the black mist on his chest seemed to be satisfied. Slowly retreat to the scroll. Tear. The entire scroll was instantly torn apart by unknown energy and scattered in the air. Those black lights wriggled in the air and finally merged together.
Form a dark gate. Chapter 297. Advertisement. Outside the gate, a figure gradually appeared.
His blue-brown body is covered with countless large hands. Those palms are of different shapes, large or small, some slender, some rough, but without exception, their palms are outwards, and their fingers are slightly close, like I want to hold everything in front of me in my hands. "Call me out so soon?" His voice was a bit hoarse, as if countless evil spirits were repeating his flowers, and his voice became the main theme of everything. Tick, tick. Water droplets from nowhere hit the ground. If you look closely, you will find that behind the cursed spirit, a big mouth suddenly appeared, with saliva constantly flowing out, like want to swallow all the abyss. Feng looked at the cursed spirit appearing tremblingly, and wanted to speak. But at this time, its body became extremely weak due to the use of the scroll.
"My lord, we can't afford this person. Single quote. My lord, take me to escape. Single quote."
Feng roared in his heart, but now he uses all his strength and can only big, sir. The huge cursed spirit looked down, and found Yingfeng lying on the ground.
"You are useless." The huge mouth behind cursed spirit separated and sucked, and Yingfeng's body instantly vacated.
Feng's face was desperate, and he could only thump his body in the air. Watching myself slowly being eaten by that huge mouth. The huge mouth smiled with satisfaction this time, as if he was very satisfied with the reception. Humans' aversion to reality is really interesting. After swallowing, the arms on cursed spirit's body instantly became sturdy.
"If you look from a distance, you will feel your scalp numb."
Immediately, he looked at the dedicated line and looked at the man sitting on the hanging chair. "My life, strong desire, human, now give you a chance. Surrender to me, or become a part of my body." The miserable voice sounded again, as if countless evil spirits were whispering in your ears. That kind of invincible look, as if it was, "Humans should ask for anything from me. This world should bow to me." At the moment when this voice sounded, Ku Rong seemed to be suppressed by his soul. His body couldn't help trembling slightly, and his knees were slightly bent. Had Ryuichi not been here, it would have even knelt on the ground. "These guys are all listening to your arrangements." Ryuichi looked at his huge body, and a trace of nausea appeared in his heart. He looks very disgusting, and his attitude is even more disgusting. However, the feeling he felt after swallowing cursed spirit was a bit familiar. Advertisement Changyu didn't reply, but looked at the trembling withered Rong. The fear portrayed on the soul made him feel very familiar. "Kurong, since your body is already like this, then become a part of my body too." The huge mouth behind him showed excitement at this moment. The corners of the mouth even began to drip filthy liquid. If you look carefully, the liquid is so clear that it confuses people. Suction came again, and Ku Rong's body was slowly empty. The fear from the soul makes it without any desire to resist. There was a touch of scarlet in Ryuichi's white eyes that month, and countless hairs appeared on the back of the chair, curling the dry Rong back. Ku Rong's figure gradually faded until he disappeared. The tempura figure appeared behind him again. "Want to eat my spirit? Are you worthy?" Flop. Flop. Numerous hairs came out from behind the tempura, scattered towards the strong desire. For a time, it seemed like 1,000 arrows pierced the heart. "Haha, humans, do you think you can deal with me like this? You are too naive." From which, hedgehog, the ridiculous sound came from. A closer look will reveal that every attacking hair is caught by the countless palms of his body. Can't get into the half-minute at all. No, it's you innocent. Silver on the other side. Open. Boom. Shocking. In an instant, the transparent semicircular sphere enchantment centered on Ryuichi unfolded instantly, enveloping the strong desire in the blink of an eye. Oh. The cry of countless evil spirits has become the main theme of the world here. The earth became pale and soft, as if walking on human skin. The originally bright and clear sky dimmed instantly, as if darkness were the original color of this world. A scarlet blood moon slowly rose behind Ryuichi, becoming the only light in the world. On the ground, black hair grows wantonly like weeds. What kind of field is this? Click. Wow. The hair in Chang Yu's hand instantly hardened, and the palm of his body rubbed like a blade to break through his palm in an instant. inserted into his body and grew wantonly in his body. What? With a scream, the huge mouth behind him opened hard. Advertisement with his big mouth sucked, the crazy hair on the ground was sucked into his mouth instantly. Even the hair used for parasitism in the body has a vague urge to break out of the body. Whoosh whoosh. Click. The hair on the ground seemed to be irritated, and it surged upwards. Wrap the giant mouth directly. Even if the inner layer is torn apart, the thicker hair will greet it underneath. Tear tore. Suddenly a tearing sound came from the giant cocoon wrapped in the pile of hair. Bang. There was a loud noise, and she forcefully destroyed all the hair wrapped around her. A penetrating smile appeared on his extremely ugly face, and his eyes were fixed on the figure taken under the red moon. It seems to be carved in the depths of the soul, always reminding myself. Don't forget today's shame, Diaresis human, you successfully angered me. Desire is now like the end of a crossbow. In order not to be occupied by the hair, he exhausted all his strength and pulled them out.
Although he was out of trouble, his strength was too great.
Ryuichi didn't care about his expression, a confident smile appeared on his indifferent face. No, it's not over yet, whoosh whoosh. A huge, Lee's roar came into his ears along with the howl of his hair. He looked at the dark sky in shock. This sky is actually covered by hair. What? In an instant, the entire space was filled with black hair. Only under the full moon stood a lonely figure. He looked at everything in front of him jokingly. At this moment, he knew what kind of enemy he had encountered.
This time, Desire didn't make any struggles. Because he is now like a doll stuffed with cotton.
Obviously consciousness and thinking are there, but the body is not under his control. Shocking. Tear. The tearing sound came out again, but this time it was the lustful body that was torn apart.
He could still feel the pain, but he couldn't do anything about it. He could only watch his body forcibly split and copy.
What kind of field is this? Chapter 298. Advertisement at the same time. On the subway platform, Gojo Satoru and Yaga Masamichi looked face to face. ZZZ. The destroyed billboard is hanging on the wall, working hard. In the deep subway road, there is also a vacant subway parked. The excrement that was originally unsightly on the ground was also blown away by the explosion just now. Instantly evaporate in the air. The ground is full of charred objects. Yaga Masamichi looked at everything in front of him in shock. These bastards, he wanted to find someone to vent, but now he can only watch everything around him. Gojo Satoru has all let go at this moment. The material in the air has also become thinner because of the explosion just now. There is no way to stop Gojo Satoru from using the magic power. Hi. Masamichi-sensei. Why are you here? When Gojo Satoru saw Yaga Masamichi appeared, his face was also taken aback. But the corners of his mouth split instantly, and his right hand was placed on the back of his head and grabbed. It seems that the situation here has nothing to do with him. A-hole. What are you doing here? What happened to these things on the ground? Yaga Masamichi hopes very much at this moment. Gojo Satoru tells him that the following black corpses have nothing to do with him. Gojo Satoru looked at the teacher's serious face, and his funny smile gradually disappeared. These people below are dead, I didn't protect it. Yaga Masamichi was also taken aback when he heard this. It seems that he has changed. He originally thought that Gojo Satoru had gone back to what he used to be, indifferent to the death of ordinary people. It seems that it has not returned to the worst ending. Where is your attacker? Gojo Satoru didn't say, but through his eyes, he told him the location of the cursed spirit. The pollution at this moment, the body is already mutilated. From a distance, it looked like a gun target was blasted to half of its body, although it was desperately repairing it. But to no avail. The current state of the battle is just that. Poor was seriously injured, and the 4 cursed divisions were dead, and Gojo Satoru escaped in the subway. Mew was very angry now, and the liquid flowing on his body began to emit bubbles, and when it was broken, it emitted wisps of smoke. Let this hot underground space waft a pungent stench again. This is its symbol and its amulet. Advertisement run away. Must escape. Dirt is now full of brains on how to escape this place of right and wrong. Go to the resurrection of TM King of Curses, go to TM's foolish learning. If you can escape this time, you must be devoured. Although the medicine Yushui gave had some effects, it had a wrong estimate of the invincible man in front of him. This guy doesn't seem to care about human comfort. This error is very fatal. Yingfeng. It didn't dare to think about it anymore. If Gojo Satoru was like this, then the man Zenin Ryuichi would definitely disregard human life even more. Aren't you going to fight? Or, are you trying to escape? Gojo Satoru's joking voice sounded from the front. He didn't want to get his hands dirty by this guy before, but now. Gojo Satoru looked at the backpack in Yaga Masamichi's hand with a weird smile. Yaga saw this smile in his eyes, and he subconsciously hid the bag behind him. But still handed it to Gojo Satoru. Resolve the battle quickly, I don't want to throw up here. The odor has been diffused, even more intense than just because of the high temperature. Call. This mask was hung on Yaga Masamichi's face. He looked at Gojo Satoru in surprise, only to find that he made off a sign. 5 minutes? Yaga Masamichi nodded, quite satisfied with this time. This guy, in times of danger, is quite reliable. Bang bang bang. Rumble. After a fight, a huge roar blasted the tunnel out of Big Mouth. A hole. Didn't you say that this move cannot be used in this kind of space? Do you know how much money you have to accompany? Gojo Satoru has a relaxed expression on his face, and joy appears in the blue eyes of the sky. It's been a long time since it's been so easy, inside the mall. Rumble. The shock wave directly blasted a huge hole into the ground. If Ryuichi sees it, he must know that Gojo Satoru's battle is over. But he was in the realm at this time, looking at the desire that was divided into countless pieces. Strong desire now doesn't know what pain is, he has been divided countless times in it. Advertisement during this period, he even thought about suicide. However, this Lingyue did not give him this opportunity. Strong desire at this moment only wanted to die immediately. He looked at the figure in the distance as if for help. It seems to be asking for his forgiveness. Ryuichi also had a bit of boring in his eyes at the moment. He was tired of seeing this kind of picture. Walked in front of the group of strong desires. Looking at his wagging look, his face showed disdain. It seems to be watching a roadside mouse. Now you still let me make a choice?
I want to hear this, and I can't wait to slap myself with the palm of my body.
He finally knew at this moment why Pan and Yada died in the hands of a human. You should be thankful. I'm tired of watching it now. 6 Immortal Thief Treasury suck. Ryuichi spread out his V-shaped hands, and a strong suction burst out from the center. Although this strong desire is a bit ugly, it is still within the scope of human acceptance. The mantra power in the body is very full, not comparable to that of the general special grade cursed spirit.
Although he wanted to know that what he was facing was death at this moment, he looked at Zenin Ryuichi's eyes with gratitude.
Finally, you don't have to suffer this kind of pain anymore. With the disappearance of the last little strong desire, Ryuichi finally showed a satisfied smile on his face. Full. Unexpectedly, this ugly cursed spirit had such a powerful curse power in his body. Open panel. Divine Armament 100 refinements. Successful. The current progress is 100%. 6 Immortal Thief Treasury. Successful. The current progress is 100%. Dispatch of Detained Spirits. Successful. The current progress is 100%. Feng Hu Chi Men. Successful. The current progress is 100%. Tong Tien Talisman. Beginner. The current progress is 30%. Full Hand. Not unlocked. Deluo Cave Temple. Not unlocked. Origin of Chi. Not unlocked. Ryuichi looked at the 30% behind Tong Tien Talisman and raised the corners of his mouth. He is now unmatched in Jujutsu circles with the help of Zhu Ling dispatching generals and Feng Hu Chi Men, and 6 Immortal Thief Treasury in terms of prediction and premonition. For him, the spell in Tong Tien Talisman has no other purpose except to satisfy his hobby of collecting.
Snapped. Finger snapping sounded again, and the domain dissipated like a bubble.
The wisteria hanging chair in the sky also disappeared. The interior of the mall returned to calm. Ryuichi, the battle on your side is fierce. Chapter 299 Advertisement on an island in the sea. There are countless seabirds docking on it, frolicking, and occasionally catching some shrimps and crabs from the sea alder to fill the empty belly. Rumble. Roar. The huge roar stunned all the seabirds on the island. It turned out that the old skeleton castle on the island suddenly collapsed at this moment. Thousands of light blue translucent souls suddenly emerged from the gray and white ruins. They are male and female, old and young, complete or incomplete, gathered in the air, calmly watching the scene in front of them. Thousands of roars burst out suddenly. Each soul uses that deafening roar to express the comfort of liberation. Then he floated to the sky until the figure disappeared. Suddenly, the whole seat seemed to have lost its strength, and it started to sink slowly. A large number of skeletal skulls appeared in the sea around the island. Looking around, this sea area is covered. This small island is actually supported by bones. Just as the island was about to sink, there was a black curse floating above the void. This curse power was like glue. Once it appeared, it was stuck in the void. 1 strand, 2 strands, 3 strands. More and more curse power sticks together in the air. In the end, a black channel was formed. Suddenly, a huge eye appeared from the door, but the eyeball occupied the entire passage. Quietly watching everything that happened before me. When the island was completely sunk, the black channels began to slowly converge. Strong desire. You are too impatient, at the same time. China Earth Bureau Mansion. Iharu Nikado came to the backyard and sat at the door of the room. He needs an answer now. Why did this mission end in failure? Why did Zenin Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru not lose anything in this incident? This time, the entire plan was promoted by the people of Juharu Nikado. Including Nanami Kento's upgrade test, as well as the judges' qualifications of Gojo Satoru and Zenin Ryuichi. Or the equipment of those cursed divisions. All of this is provided by their family. In this incident, not only did the two of them fail to be wiped out, but they even caught fire. This kind of error shouldn't be what happens to the one inside. Jiharu Nikado is here. What do you want to ask? Please ask. Advertisement? Why? Why is this mission ending like this? Why haven't the two of them died yet? As soon as the voice inside fell, his miserable questioning voice roared out. In the backyard, shocked by the loud sound, the idle animals were all shocked. The whole thing needs to progress successfully and requires a prerequisite, that is, Gojo Satoru and Zenin Ryuichi have an estimate of the lives of ordinary people. But now it is obvious that the two have no scruples about it. The voice in the room was very light, and the cold tone even eased the angry mood of Nikado Juharu. Iharu Nikado was slightly less angry, but his hands were still clinging to the corners of his clothes, and his whole body was trembling slightly. Then what should we do? This matter was single-handedly promoted by Jongtu Jujia. This matter is very easy to investigate. As long as they come back for a little investigation, we will become the target of public criticism. Nakado Juharu even laughed at Anbei's trash before, and without investigating, he went to unblock a demon. As a result, he was hanged and beaten, and he killed a guardian in the family. Looking at it now, he is worse than that sissy, and the number of deaths in this incident will all fall on him. Once this hat that deliberately hurt ordinary people is buckled, it will be spurned by the entire Jujutsu world.
Even if they are wanted, even if they estimate their status as the guardians, it will take back all the honors that belonged to them before.
This kind of situation is unacceptable to people like him who have an extremely heavy concept of family honor. You are afraid because you did all this. You shouldn't be afraid. You should be angry now. Juharu Nakado was taken aback when he heard this.
Anger. Am I really angry now? And many more, although this incident was caused by me alone.
But the death of those people has only an indirect relationship with me. As long as you make good use of this, you can divert your attention away.
As for the joint curse division, then you can only share your own research materials.
Otherwise, this chapter can't be turned over. Thinking of this, Juharu Nikado's eyes lit up, as if he already knew the solution to the problem. Thank you for your reminder. I retire, with the sound of footsteps away. The light blue figure inside slowly raised his head and looked at the ceiling of the room. When can I go back? Seeking flowers. At this time, a dark curse suddenly appeared on the roof, gradually pieced together into a passage. A huge eyeball emerged. Haruto Nikado returned to the room. Looking at the letters on the table, there was a sullen look in his eyes. Advertisement. Who are you? How did you get in? What are you doing? Kill, huh.
Two figures broke into the door and smashed on the wall of the room.
In an instant, the entire face was covered with blood. The two people looked out the door blankly, raising one arm with difficulty, trying to say something. But I only heard a pop. In the end, he died silently. Who is outside? Do you know where this is? 0. Come here to play wild. Do you know what the consequences are? Iharu Nikado is not in a panic. After all, they often fight the Cursed Division in Cursed Spirit. It's not too unfamiliar for visiting revenge. It's just the first time I've seen this kind of provocation in broad daylight. I smelled 2 mice. Fuhesher's figure appeared at the door, dressed in black with 2 weapons. Following Ryuichi for a long time, he likes this kind of unparalleled feeling more and more. This kind of murderous pleasure just made him obsessed. Juching Zhangtu saw that the incoming person was Fuhesher. His originally relaxed expression instantly became solemn. The name, Heaven and Tyrant, did not come from him himself. It was given to him by the entire Jujutsu community. It can also be said that he is a name that came out of the entire Jujutsu world. What is this guy doing today? Did you find out that I was behind this incident so quickly, and now come to take my first level? This thought had already appeared, and he was shocked in a cold sweat instantly. Accompanied by the slow autumn wind, it blew into his collar. In this bright autumn season, there was a hint of coldness in his heart. No, this is definitely not the case. Juharu Nikado resisted the fear in his heart and asked softly. Fuchsia, what's the matter with you? Fuhesher saw his nervousness, and a wild smile appeared on his face. Didn't I just say it? I'm here to kill the mouse? Fuhei's cold eyes stared at the back of Juharu Nikado. There, oops, Earth, Chapter 300 advertisement. In the early morning of the next day, everything is in the house. Fuhesher stood in Ryuichi's office and stretched comfortably. Good mood. When Fuhesher heard the question, he grinned. You trampled the last 2 mice to death yesterday, and they won't jump out of disgusting people anymore. Ryuichi is non-committal. This guy has always been a little bit hostile the other day. Today it dissipated cleanly. Snapped, throw something on the table. Are you familiar with this thing? Fuhesher looked at the thing on the table with a stunned expression. It's a bit like the glasses I asked Yaya Oga to make before. He took out a pair of glasses from his pocket and subconsciously weighed it. Then put it in front of you for comparison. The one I found myself, no matter from the materials or the craftsmanship. Both are much better than what Ryuichi took out. At first glance, this thing shows that 550 is inferior to mass production. There is no difference in materials and efficacy. But the main material seems to be the same as the one I took. This thing should also be made from the ore I got back last time. Are you going to use it to arm ordinary people? After all, this thing can not only see through the falsehood, but also allows people to directly observe the existence of cursed spirit. He wouldn't believe that the man in front of him needed this thing. Don't make me laugh. A trace of disdain flashed through Ryuichi's long, narrow eyes. Fuhesher grinned, as if he was amused by what he had just said. No matter how armed, ordinary ants can't beat those mice. The two are not in the same world at all, and there is no saying that ants will kill elephants. Fuhesher looked around the office. Found here has been restored as before. Even the freezer was put back. Fuhesher was not polite and took out the soda from inside. Click. Suddenly, cool. Ryuichi looked at the man in front of him speechlessly, as if staying with his child for a long time.
There will always be some minor problems on the body.
Responsibility is really a strange thing. Some people will become mature because of it, and some people will become naive because of it. How do you plan to solve the incident yesterday? Do you need my help? Advertisement. Fuhesher smiled fiercely, a trace of scarlet appeared in his eyes, and a powerful tyrannical aura burst forth. These bugs have been dangling in front of my eyes recently, and now they have jumped in front of Ryuichi. I really want to kill them all. No, Gojo Satoru said that this matter should be resolved by him. Ryuichi knew a trace of Fuhesher and shook his head. Since Gojo Satoru said it can be solved, there is no need to let Cher take action. That blind man? Are you not afraid that he will be quiet? Then you don't need to make a move. A tyrannical aura spread from Ryuichi. He obviously didn't have any expressions, but he incorporated this world under his feet. In this seemingly small body, there is endless power hidden. Fuhesher looked at the boss in front of him in shock. Is this man a monster? It's just one battle, so much stronger? At the moment, he actually had an urge to look up. That evil curse, like a Tarsus maggot, was eroding his nerves. Now I'm looking forward to Gojo Satoru messing up. Jujutsu high-level meeting. You guys, don't you have anything to say about yesterday? Quiet. Deathly quiet. Gojo Satoru sits directly opposite the elder. Looking at the silent dumbs on both sides, the disdain was overwhelming. Those in the front position were so angry that they didn't dare to speak, and they only trembled with anger. What can we do? We are also desperate. We were not here at all yesterday, okay. We want to carry this kind of pot? Juharu Nikado sat in his seat, with his hands under his clothes. His fingers lost his blood because of too much force, and cold sweat fell on his thighs smoothly with his palms. Calm. Be sure to calm down. No problems can be exposed now. Gojo Satoru's question today completely broke his plan yesterday. The original villain first filed a complaint, and transferred the blame for the death of all ordinary people to Gojo Satoru and Zenin Ryuichi. First push these two people into the Jujutsu world, and even the opposite of the entire human race. In this way, no one will notice his tricks. But he forgot one thing, if these two people really stand on the opposite side of human beings. So, the whole Jujutsu world will have a gap in their generation. Advertisement, enlightenment, we don't know about this matter. It's not so good for you to be held accountable like this. The elder sitting in the first place saw the situation in front of him, and his eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a hint of unknown. Counseling. But the momentum cannot be defeated. He can sit in this position for so long, but it's not a waste of people who only knows to claim power. Snapped. A set of equipment appeared on the long and narrow table. This is exactly what Gojo Satoru pulled out of those people when he was fighting. The elder gave a look, and Yaya Okawa took the thing in his hand and observed it carefully. The moment he saw his eyes, he felt a little familiar. It's not much different from the glasses of Fuhesher. At a glance, I understood the role of these things. If you guessed it right, there should be another medicine that can be used to stop the curse. Gojo Satoru heard this answer, his blue eyes penetrating a hint of curiosity. Looking closely with the eyes of the sky hidden under the sunglasses, he found that he was just an ordinary jujutsu teacher. Round fighting power, even Nanami Kento, who just passed the second level, can't beat it. For an instant, Yaya Oka suddenly felt his hairs stand up, feeling that his secret had been seen through, and looked around calmly. I found that they were all concentrating, waiting for themselves to speak down. Maybe he is too sensitive. The function of this set of devices is basically to fight against, even to catch blogs. With this set of equipment, you can catch any Jujutsu Division 2 or above alive by surprise. Hiss. The words came out. All the people around took a breath. Then he looked at Yaya Okawa with red eyes, wondering if he has the ability to make this set of things. Yaya Okawa looked at their greedy expressions with disdain in his heart. Even if it can be done, it is definitely not for you. Yaya Okawa shook his head calmly and pushed the thing back. I lack the material for this thing, and there is no way to reproduce it. Now it is obvious who has the ability and who is behind. He won't pick up this hot potato. Gojo Satoru, you heard that too, we can't make these things. You continue to do this, you have lost the demeanor of Gojo's family. Boom. Click. The neat tabletop began to make a crisp sound, and a crack resembling a python quickly moved towards the elder. You seem to have made a mistake. I'm here to inquire today. Chapter 301 Advertisement. Bang. As Gojo Satoru's voice fell, The snakehead crawled in front of the elder. The whole table shattered in an instant. Scattered sawdust bounced around, and a few people around stood up instantly. You. Someone opened his mouth to curse, but was swept across by those blue eyes. What I wanted to say disappeared in an instant, and the whole person stood stiff, not daring to say one more word. Gojo Satoru. Remember, you can sit here on behalf of the Gojo family. You should thank us instead of messing around here. You can come in today, and we can let you out tomorrow. Puff. The whole body of the elder instantly took off and hit the wall directly behind him. A lot of blood spurted from his mouth, looking resentfully at Gojo Satoru not far away. You. Gojo Satoru seemed to have slapped a fly and didn't even look at him. It seemed that the first glance was an insult to my own eyes. Do you think I would like to sit with your group of mice hiding in the sewer? You old group are stubborn, don't know anything except infighting 23. You should be thankful that it's me sitting here if it's Ryuichi. You. Will there be so much nonsense? As soon as the voice fell, they recalled the figure in the depths of memory at that moment. It seemed to be the suppression from the soul. If they said before, they could still look up. So now, they have lost even the qualification to look up. It is only matched with maggots on the ground. This feeling is very uncomfortable, but they have no way to get rid of it. Ah, what do you want to do? Gojo Satoru calmly looked at the elder who was still coughing up blood. Find this person and destroy the whole family. Don't think you are qualified to bargain here. This is the bottom line I give you. In other words, you have the ability to challenge me and Zenin Ryuichi. It seems to be the final announcement as soon as this sentence is finished. Gojo Satoru turned around and left here. Before leaving, he glanced at Juching Nakadu and found that he was pale and trembling. The corners of his mouth lifted, and a faint chuckle appeared. Goodbye, everyone, advertisement. I hope that when I see you next time, it's not in the urn. Bang, facing the closing of the door, everyone could no longer bear the anger in their hearts. Who does Gojo Satoru think he is? He dared to threaten us here. I propose to kick him out tomorrow. I agree, he must be killed. Otherwise let him think we are afraid of him. Isn't it a super jujutsu teacher? What's so great? Tomorrow their family will be sanctioned so that they can't hold their heads up in the jujutsu world? You are not curious. Who is the promoter of this incident? Yaya Daihe pushed his eyes, watching their enthusiasm, couldn't help but remind. This group of people are stupid, right? Just carry such a big black pot? If you want to hate, you should also hate the people who cheated us. This black pot was smashed to us for no reason, so did you pick it up? This sentence was like a thunder on the ground, which directly drew everyone's attention back. The superiors have been sitting for a long time, and their face is more important than the truth of the incident. But this pot can't just be picked up for no reason. Ahem. Daihe, you are so familiar with that set of equipment just now, do you already have a suspicious object? This simple sentence directly shocked Iiharu Nikado who was standing on the side. This guy has seen dry stone, he wouldn't know that I did it. Do not, impossible, absolutely impossible, unless. Yes, it is that. Iiharu Nikado only felt that his head exploded at the moment. When Fuyisher killed his 2 dancers yesterday, he seemed to have a pair of glasses on his face. Will not, Iiharu Nikado carefully turned his attention to Yaya Oga. The eyes of the 2 people were in communication at this moment. Boom. Yes, he knows that I made this thing. I have a guess, these things are. I haven't finished speaking the Yashi Daihe dialect, so I just heard a poof. Juharu Nikado had already knelt in front of the crowd and began to explain frantically. I did it all. But I do it for everyone. If these 2 people are not eliminated, we will never be able to unify the voices of the jujutsu world. Compared to Cursed Spirit, they are our real enemy. Listen to me. We still have a chance to come back. They killed all the ordinary people there. As long as we report the news, they will. At this moment, Juharu Nakadu has a hideous face, bulging muscles, and a crazy face explaining to the people around him. Talking about the next plan, advertisement snapped. With a crisp slap, the flushed face of Juching Nikado was originally crazy. There was an extra white palm print, and the blood from the print was scattered around. It took a long time to gather together. Not long after, the slap print turned from white to blue, making this half of the face directly bigger. Juharu Nakadu held his hands to Lien and looked at the elder in front of him incredibly. Enough. Do you know what you are talking about? It's not enough for you to die. Do you still want to take us to the funeral? The elder's eyes widened and pointed at Jukengren in the Middle Earth. His clothes were calm and automatic, as if he would take action in the next second and behead him. There was a stalemate for 3 minutes. People around didn't dare to say a word. I'm afraid I will be involved. Hey, you are arrogant, regardless of the rules between us. You no longer belong to one of us. Take out the guardian things and go back and sever yourself. The elder took a deep look at Juching Jiangtu. Don't force us to do it. Nikado Juharu stayed on his knees. Despair has crushed his will. I am done. Ha ha. That's it for me. He resisted intentionally, and both of them squeezed and squeezed on their sides. He wanted to kill all the people here and then flee Fusang. But the greedy eyes around him reminded him all the time. Don't move your head, we will keep staring at you. When things reached this point, a hint of freedom and ease appeared in his heart. Put the jade medal in his hand on the ground, and made a kneeling ceremony to everyone. Thank you for giving me a decent opportunity. After speaking, he went back home without waiting for the meeting to dissolve. Looking at the huge yard. The previous prosperity was like a dream of a yellow beam. Now that he wakes up from the dream, he can only accept reality. The autumn breeze entered the hospital, blowing up the fallen leaves on the ground, floating in the air. The whole yard was so clean at this moment. Juharu Nikado stood in the courtyard, subconsciously trying to find someone to talk to.
Dad, Mom, Grandpa, why do I call these titles?
Who are they? Ah, his brain seems to have been hit hard at this moment. They are all dead? Chapter 302 Advertisement? Nikado Juharu walked to the backyard. A few birds stayed on the rockery, playing with each other. The autumn breeze was blowing across the flowers, making ripples. Juharu Nakado was sitting at the door of which room, his eyes were dull, and he was muttering words. It's no wonder that the sins of the whole family need to be wiped out, but only let me judge myself. It's no wonder that after Fuyashir killed the 2 female dancers, he left with a mocking expression on his face. No wonder my parents don't have any impression. Bang! The door of the room was broken instantly. Yushui calmly looked at the visitor, and calmly put the books around him back to the shelf. Those sarcomas on my body twitched crazily at this moment. Plumes of liquid flowed down the tube into its brain. Do you remember everything? Why? Juharu Nikado's eyes were full of rage, his teeth clenched, and he wanted to swallow the cursed spirit directly opposite. At this moment, the muscles on his body were swelling abnormally, and the blue veins were like parasitic worms, and they were wriggling back and forth at this moment. Even though it's autumn now, the temperature here is gradually rising. There is a faint feeling that is about to break through the quasi-level.
There is no why, everything is your own choice.
Yushui didn't worry at this moment. When he said this, he seemed to be talking. An ordinary sentence sounded like a thunderstorm to Juching in Jiangtu. The door of memory was instantly opened, and the original trivial fragments were instantly integrated together. Pieced everything together, however, he did not have any joy. There is just endless sadness and sorrow. Click.
Click. Iharu Nakado numbly followed the tears on his face.
His eyes were dull, and his mouth opened slightly, as if it was the first time he saw a child in the snow.
The eyes are full of curiosity. Are these my tears?
It turns out that everything is because of me? Since he became the head of the family, Yushui's secret has been disclosed to him.
From then on, no matter what kind of decision is encountered, I will ask Yushui.
However, the rise in status made him gradually lost, and everything that hindered him from rising became his enemy.
During this time, countless competitors just died silently outside.
Advertisement over time. The status of Jiangtu family in Jujutsu has risen sharply, and it is no longer the salted fish family that only relies on the seal to make a living. But at the same time, his relatives became victims of power during this time. He became his scapegoat and was sacrificed in the game of power and conspiracy. Every time a family member died, he would ask Yushui to seal his memory. In the end, he got used to life without relatives. It turns out, it's really my fault. No, it's not your fault to be precise. It's just because you are not strong enough that it leads to this result. This sentence seemed to be played by countless speakers in his ears. That magnetic voice, like a spring breeze, followed his skin, through his flesh and blood, and flowed into the depths of his soul. At this moment, it seemed that something mysterious had been opened in his heart. Boom! A heat wave erupted from the body of Juching in Jiangtu. 1, 2, 3, 9. The promotion of the curse power actually caused his body to explode 9 times of blood energy. It directly makes his body firmer, although it can't reach the level of Fuhesher, but it is also infinitely close. Now, the originally swollen muscles began to recede at this moment, and the red and swollen cheeks gradually recovered. People who live in the Middle-earth family repair the body, so that the curse power in the body merges with the body as much as possible. Every promotion means an improvement in physical fitness. Let the soul and body reach harmony, but I will not have any consciousness during this time. This means, is it quasi-level? Looking at the promotion of Juching Jiangtu, Yushui was filled with joy. Hoo-hoo-hoo. Hoo-hoo-hoo. The sarcoma on his body was still squirming like crazy. Pieces of light blue energy floated from him. In this semi-enclosed room, like a large blue firefly, it is very beautiful. These energies accumulate in the air and gradually turn into a mirror. The oval mirror surface and silver handle didn't look like something that could be placed in an ordinary home. At this moment, the figure of Juharu Nikado was illuminated inside. The eyes that were originally closed slowly opened in the mirror. He looked at Juharu Nikado, who was sitting outside with a smirk. His eyes were full of greed, and his scarlet tongue was licking the mirror wanton. Looking longingly at the foolish school outside the mirror. Yushui nodded. Throw the mirror upwards. Advertisement. Base. The mirror that was originally only the size of a palm opened in an instant, like a mouth of a blood basin, and swallowed it directly towards Juharu Nikado. Ha ha ha. I'm coming, what a delicious body, What a wonderful blood. I'll be one step ahead this time, definitely the strongest. At this moment, Juharu Nikado felt the movement outside and his brows twitched. The eyes rolling under his eyelids seemed to want to wake up from this state immediately. But the next second, his figure disappeared. In the empty room, only the sound of creaking was left. Diaresis remembered to keep your head. At this moment, all TV stations notified the incident. The impact of the commercial supermarket subway incident was very bad, causing extensive building damage and the death of many people. According to current intelligence, a group of foreign KB members organized and premeditated the crime. Close black lens bracket. Now, we have contacted international experts to assist in the investigation, and we will arrest them as soon as possible. Close black lens bracket. For this, we're here to mourn for the dead. Close black lens bracket. Finally, let's listen to the anti-terrorist expert Professor Wolf Eller and explain to us the knowledge of counter-control. Close black lens bracket. Terrorist attacks? Why are there such news all the time recently? It's scary? That's right, or I should go abroad. It's too unsafe to help, Lee Lees sang recently. You are safe when you go abroad. If you are out of luck, you may be. Get out. I can't expect something good. In the back row of the classroom, a few people sat around and discussed the hard news posted on their mobile phones. Daling listened to the chats of people around her, but she did not join in. In this incident, there were casualties, and the number was huge. The government had to publish the truth of this incident in all media. Used to appease the masses, she is 100% sure that it is still related to cursed spirit. But I can't say it yet. So annoying. After letting out the grievances in my heart, my mood became much smoother. After school, leave, after returning home, he walked directly to the bathtub. Just as she bent down to release the water, her figure was reflected in the mirror. That tall figure, that charming curve, and the head that is slowly turning at that moment. Chapter 303 Advertisement. In the early morning of the next day, the wind was sunny and the autumn breeze was clear. 2 regular customers ushered in the house of everything. The boss is in the office, you can do it yourself. Rika dragged Du Ling behind him to Ryuichi's office. Squeak. Pushing open the door, he looked at Ryuichi who was resting inside. Hello, we want to. Ah, handsome guy Ryuichi. Help me, I'm surrounded by ghosts. The moment Doling saw Ryuichi after entering the door, the whole person's emotions seemed to have found a point of venting, and he cried out directly. When I went out today, I didn't even paint the makeup. Wearing loose casual clothes, messy hair and panda eyes.
From a distance, I thought it was a non-mainstream.
What's up? The attitude is flat and the tone is cold. This is the person in her heart. I had a hell at home yesterday, ghost? Ryuichi sat up and looked at the unkempt doll. It looked scared and confused. Cursed spirit? When she said this, she stared at Rika on one side. After all, the two are often together and should know the situation. Rika saw Ryuichi's white eyes and was shocked, instinctively wanting to back away. But this time it was Daling's business. If you can't explain it clearly, you might have missed this opportunity. I don't know, I went to her house to check, and I didn't find any traces of cursed spirit. Ryuichi nodded lightly, which was the same as what he saw. Although Daling looked miserable now, there was no trace left by the cursed spirit on his body. You are dreaming. This sentence seemed to step on Dao Ling's tail and suddenly screamed loudly. Noisy. Ryuichi furrowed her brows, her body exuding huge pressure in an instant. The entire room was instantly shrouded in shadows. Li Xiang was shocked by the pressure and backed away again and again, tears even appeared in her eyes. Daling was even more miserable. This pressure was originally directed at her. At this moment, her chest seemed to be beaten repeatedly with heavy hammers. There was something that wanted to spew out, and only felt a sweetness in her throat, and a drop of blood ran down the corner of her mouth. The pain made her forget her fear, and she quieted down instantly. Say it right now. The shadow receded, and the two men calmed the fear in their hearts and returned to their seats. Daling described her experience intermittently. Ryuichi listened to her description, tapping the table with his right index finger in an orderly manner. Advertisement from the description of Daling. This thing is like a mirror ghost. But ghosts shouldn't exist in this world. Is it an imaginary cursed spirit? But cursed spirit's words seemed to make no sense. Daling saw Ryuichi's appearance and thought he was still angry about what happened just now. I am sad for my mistakes. Li Xiang looked at her uncomfortable, and she didn't feel uncomfortable. However, the man in front of him didn't want to invite, so he could please. He also needs to be interested in himself. Bang. The knocking sound disappeared. Interestingly, how much are you willing to pay for your life? Rika and Daling raised their heads instantly, staring at Zenin Ryuichi in surprise. I have $1 million. If it's not enough, I can still ask my parents. Yes, I accept your commission. Daling and Rika embraced excitedly. Subconsciously want to hug Ryuichi on the other side. As a result, he was stopped in midair by a look, standing there with an awkward look. Time and location. This afternoon, Li Xiang and I will come to see you together. After speaking, Daling followed Li Xiang out to go shopping. After all, I took a day off, so I can't go back to class. The time came to the afternoon. Daling led Rika and Ryuichi, standing in front of the house. Li Xiang looked at the small villa in front of him with a look of surprise. Slowly looked at Daling. Sister Daling, is this your home? Yes, I live alone, so I didn't buy a big house. No humanity. Li Xiang only knew that Daling's family was rich, but he didn't expect it to be this level. I had already tried and let Daling take a stake in their monastery. Daling opened the door and the three came to the house. Although the house is large, it is well planned and has a touch of warmth. The layout and size of the furniture are very good, and at first glance, they are made to order at a high price. Ryuichi nodded, feeling that the price he was asking for was a bit lower. But business is always going to happen. The price will be raised next time. Daling couldn't figure out how much her behavior would cost her in the future. Advertisement. This is the bathroom where I took a shower at that time. Ah. Daling quickly grabbed the clothes on the washing machine next to him. Open the lid of the washing machine and throw it in. He took a sigh of relief until he heard the sound of the washing machine turning. Ryuichi is not interested in her behavior and observes the interior of the bathroom. The two monthly white eyes observed the bathroom many times, but found no abnormalities. Finally came to the mirror where the accident happened. At this moment, this mirror is being covered by a floral cloth. If it hadn't been for the water vapor to suddenly cover the mirror yesterday, Daling would not have the opportunity to go to him for help at this time. Boom. 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 The sound is very crisp. The mirror surface is not flawed. It looks like an ordinary mirror. When did you buy this mirror? This mirror, hasn't it been a few months since I bought it? You mean, the person who sold my mirror has a problem? Although it is an ordinary mirror whether it is looking or sensing. But as long as it has a problem, it must be one of the ways to solve the problem. Since it appeared once, there must be a second time. Snapped. Ryuichi calmly stared at the mirror in front of him, stretched out his hand, snapped his fingers, and a hanging chair appeared behind him. Ryuichi in the mirror is exactly the same as his movements, and there is no abnormality. However, he was not in a hurry, and I'm more interested in the cursed spirit inside. It's been a long time since such an interesting cursed spirit appeared. Hope not to be too weak, otherwise it will be boring. Ryuichi looked at herself in the mirror, and a trace of interest flashed in that moon's white eyes. This feeling is a bit subtle. Or, let me buy you something to eat first. It's boring to sit here. Ryuichi puts a glass of red wine in his hand and raises his hand to signal. Daling was about to go out to buy food, and Li Xiang got up immediately after seeing the situation. I also need to go. She didn't want to be with this man for a moment. She only felt that this man was exuding evil intentions all the time. This evil intention has nothing to do with good and evil, everything depends on your own mood. This kind of casual style, in the eyes of the rule-heavy monks, is deviant. But he couldn't beat him, so he could only minimize the time the two spent together. With a sound of the door. Ryuichi is the only one left in the entire small villa. Ryuichi tasted the red wine in the glass, his eyes slanted and the corner of his mouth lifted. Everyone is gone, won't they come out?